Chapter 645. Even if you report this to the Dragon Abyss Emperor, he might even accuse you of trying to assassinate Qin Hao. In an instant, Mu Xiangtian's back was drenched in cold sweat. You still say that I am a coward, a scum, and an incompetent person? Then, can you take this sword of mine? Qin Hao's voice suddenly turned cold. He waved his sleeve, and the purple meteorite sword appeared in his hand. He turned around and slashed in front of Mu Xiangtian. It was a simple move, but it produced an extraordinary red lotus soul fire. The swift and fierce sword aura swept across the street and followed Mu Xiangtian's feet to the end of the street. The stone slabs were destroyed by the sword aura and smashed into pieces. The deafening roar shocked the soldiers and made the commoners scream. Tens of thousands of people covered their ears and ran in panic when they saw this sword aura. Run, rumble, after the thunderous sound, a half-foot wide sword mark was left on the ground of Golden Sublime Street. It was so deep that one couldn't see the end of it. Creak! Mu Xiangtian twisted his numb neck and opened his mouth in horror as he looked at the sword aura that Qin Hao had slashed. This one look made his heart tremble and his heart turn cold. He knew that even 100 or 1,000 Mu Xiangtians wouldn't be able to create such a terrifying, destructive force as Qin Hao. Moreover, Qin Hao had executed it so casually. It was just a casual wave, and he hadn't used his full strength at all. Oh my God, a high-level heavenly sage. I remember that during the Rising Star competition, Earl Qin Hao was only a mortal sage. In just a few days, he had broken through to the high-level heavenly sage level. The shock in the hearts of the soldiers could not be any greater. Moreover, he is not an ordinary heavenly sage. Even a low-level Yuan monarch wouldn't be able to escape unscathed from that flaming sword aura. Jiang Zhengxiong thought to himself as he wiped the cold sweat off his face. His intuition told him that if Qin Hao didn't care about the consequences and unleashed his full strength, this sword aura would be enough to destroy the entire Golden Sublime District. So, do you still want a duel? Qin Hao stared coldly at Mu Xiangtian. Mu Xiangtian's legs were trembling and his face was pale. He was about to wet his pants. What's the point of a duel? He was afraid that he would be killed by Qin Hao in one strike. Qin Hao, I'm warning you again. There are laws in the Imperial City. Don't use your status as a count to maliciously oppress us common people. Now that you've destroyed the streets, you've violated the laws of the Empire. You must be punished. Now that things had come to this, Mu Xiangtian could only admit defeat. The moment he opened his mouth, he was still slandering others. But Qin Hao didn't care at all. Dharma? Let me tell you what Dharma is. After saying that, he looked at Jiang Zhengxiong. Qin Hao sheathed his sword and smiled. Commander Jiang, did you see me breaking the law? Jiang Zhengxiong was startled, but he acted as if nothing had happened. No, I didn't see anything. F***CK. Mu Xiangtian was furious this time. He pointed at Jiang Zhengxiong and said angrily, Commander Jiang, are you blind? There was such a huge crack in the ground right under your nose, and you said you didn't see it? Good. One of you is a general and the other is a count. You two are in cahoots. But I'm not afraid. You, the common people, can testify for me. I believe that everyone here saw Qin Hao destroy Jincheng Street. Isn't that right, everyone? No, I didn't see it. I don't know anything. Alchemist Mu, don't slander others. Falsely accusing a count of the Empire will send you to the Imperial prison. On the street, the common people who were hiding in the shops shook their heads. A commoner against a general? You want us common people to testify for you? Only you have the guts to say that. You bunch of trash. Mu Xiangtian felt something sweet in his throat. He was so angry that his face trembled. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At this time, one of the Luo Shui's soldiers chasing after Qin Hao, the captain, was also very smart. He actually dared to destroy Jincheng Street in broad daylight. If his father, Elder Mu, doesn't pay to repair the street, he can forget about leaving the Imperial prison for the rest of his life. Very quick-witted, he pointed at Mu Xiangtian and hurriedly put the crime hat on his head. That's right, that's right. I also saw Alchemist Mu destroy the street. This person is lawless. He must be locked in the Imperial prison and tortured by 108 kinds of torture. Only then will he have the confidence to turn over a new leaf. We can all testify that it was alchemist Mu who destroyed the street. In an instant, the common people began to clamor and madly accuse Mu Xiangtian of destroying the street. Puff! Mu Xiangtian could no longer bear it. He covered his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. His vision darkened, and he almost died from anger. Since there are so many witnesses, I will enforce the law impartially. Men, arrest Alchemist Mu and send someone to his father. Tell him to pay a ransom. Jiang Zhengxiong waved his hand and ordered 2 powerful deputies to take action. These 2 were both profound sages. Let alone 2. One of them could beat Mu Xiangtian hundreds of times, not to mention the 2 of them working together. Immediately, they each grabbed one of Mu Xiangtian's arms and pressed him behind his back. Crack! Mu Xiangtian's arms were dislocated, and he was subdued. The pain made Mu Xiangtian grimace, and he cursed Jiang Zhengxiong's mother in his heart. Suddenly, Qin Hao smiled and coldly looked at Mu Xiangtian. Now do you know what the law is? You? Qin Hao, right? You and Jiang Zhengxiong, I won't let you off. My foster father is Dan Ji's Foreign Affairs, Elder Chunfo. You can't afford to offend Dan Ge, but my foster father will definitely not let you frame me. Just wait and see, just wait and see. Mu Xiangtian was escorted away by the 2 deputies. He repeatedly turned his head and cursed at Qin Hao. You're rebelling. You're rebelling. Not only are you intentionally destroying the streets, you're even threatening a high-ranking imperial official and an imperial count. This is clearly a rebellion. If you're rebelling, then your father is rebelling. Men, quickly mobilize the troops and send word to the Imperial Army and the Imperial Guard to surround the Pill Pavilion's headquarters. If Chunfeng can't produce evidence to prove his innocence, kill him on the spot. Jiang Zhengxiong had been the commander of the Imperial City for more than 10 years. He had once bathed in blood on the battlefield, and his body was full of scars. These scars were also his military exploits. This was the first time he had been threatened, and he couldn't help but be angry. He waved his hand and ordered a few soldiers to find the commanders of the Imperial Army and the Imperial Guard Corps. The 2 commanders were Jiang Zhengxiong. They were Zhengxiong's life and death brothers. Since Mu Xiangtian wanted to play a big game, Laozi would play with him to the end. Let's see if you're stronger than Laozi as a soldier. Jiang Zhengxiong, I'll F***CK your mother. I'll F***CK your mother. In the distance, Mu Xiangtian's voice gradually faded away. Presumably, he would not be able to stay in prison for the night. Since he dared to insult Jiang Zhengxiong's mother, it seemed that he would be served with 108 kinds of torture. Hopefully, he wouldn't be too miserable. I'll have to trouble you, Commander Jiang. Just give him a light punishment, but don't kill him. Also, you don't have to go to Dan Ge to find trouble with Mu Chunfeng. Tomorrow, I'll visit him personally. First, he bowed to Jiang Zhengxiong. Then, Qin Hao put his hands behind his back and said coldly, who would have thought that Mu Xiangtian was actually Mu Chunfeng's adopted son? It would have been better if he had not revealed his identity. This matter would have ended here. Since he had lured old dog Mu out, it would serve as a reminder to Qin Hao that it was time to avenge his master. Everything will be done according to Count Qin. I still have important matters to attend to, so I won't disturb you and the ladies. If you have time, you can come to the barracks and let the brothers admire your grace. Jiang Zhengxiong then whispered in Qin Hao's ear, there are many new soldiers in the barracks who are your fans. As long as you say the word, we can greatly increase the training intensity of the new soldiers. Also, I'm a fan of yours. With that, Jiang Zhengxiong laughed and left. He indeed had important matters to attend to. He was prepared to go back and serve Mu Xiangtian. What an interesting person. Qin Hao shook his head and smiled. Jiang Zhengxiong was upright and plain-spoken. He was a man with a temperament that could be befriended. It seemed that he would have to make a trip to the golden revered military camp when he had time. What are you waiting for? Let's go back to the Chamber of Commerce. Qin Hao pinched Xiao Jun, who was in a daze, and then pulled him into his arms. Brother Qin Hao, aren't you too powerful? You sent that disgusting fly to prison with a sword. That fly has been disgusting Sister Xing for a long time. How high is your count's rank? Even Commander Jiang seems to be afraid of you. Xiaojun felt that Qin Hao was extremely mighty. He kept clapping his hands and cheering. The count position isn't very high. Commander Jiang isn't afraid of me. He respects me. Qin Hao smiled. Then I also want to be a count in the future. I won't let anyone bully me and my sister. Xiaojun had a life goal. He felt that being a count was very awesome. No. Your future position is something that even 10,000 counts can't compare to. You have greater responsibilities. Qin Hao carried Xiaojun and walked in the direction of the High Merchant Company. Xiaojun was the descendant of Crown Prince Yongshou. He had the orthodox bloodline of the Qing dynasty. He would become the emperor of the wasteland in the future and restore the title of the dynasty. This was a destiny that he could not escape, and all of this would not be possible without Qin Hao's help. Young master, are you really going to leave just like that? Xing was stunned. She pointed at the sword mark that Qin Hao had left on the ground. Although it was to intimidate Mu Xiangtian, the floor had still been blown away. Such a long sword ditch would affect the traffic of the common people. Shouldn't the merchant company pay for the road to be repaired? Silly girl, Dangu will pay for this. Also, how many times have I told you? Don't call me master or young master. Just call me Qin Hao. Qin Hao chuckled. He tossed Xiaojun 5 or 6 meters into the air. Then, he laughed heartily as he caught Xiaojun and walked back to the merchant company. Behind him, Xiaolei and Aka looked at each other and shook their heads. High Merchant Company, the highest floor of the main building, a luxurious hall. As soon as Qin Hao returned, he gathered everyone here. Besides Old Four High, Xing and Aku, even the old demon who was in seclusion since Qin Hao's aura and immediately put aside his cultivation to come over. In fact, after returning from the wasteland, the old demon had come to the High Merchant Company with the token that Qin Hao had given him. He had been in seclusion to merge with the body that he had possessed. After merging with Dugu Xuanxiao's body, he could already unleash the power of a peak Yuan monarch. Moreover, it would not take long for him to reach the supremacy level again. Ha. Young master, you easily rescued Yishui Han as soon as you returned. You even swept through the inner court of Qiyang Star and became a disciple of the inner court. You are really too outstanding. The old demon laughed heartily as he sat on a huge sofa made of tiger skin. He kept shaking his head with a pleased expression. Actually, he really wanted to become a student with Qin Hao and show off in the academy. Unfortunately, Qiyang University did not accept him. Chapter 646. Of course, everyone present was his family and friends, so the old demon would not use his killing move on everyone. He was just happy. He would shake his head when he was happy. Perhaps it was because after fusing with his body, he had unknowingly adopted Dugu Xuanxiao's habits. This green hat source spirit actually has this kind of effect. Qin Hao was a little surprised as he lightly patted the armrest of his chair. He had already told everyone about the heavenly ranking tournament that happened in the inner courtyard, and then he looked at Old High C. At this moment, Old High C's fat body had disappeared, and he had become more energetic and capable. Hearing what the old demon had said, he had used the green hat source spirit to cover Old High C and then refine the latter's fat. Of course, the taste of this refining process would not be good. But the green hat source spirit had the ability to lose weight, so he was considering if he should bring Hai Dafu here and get rid of the grease on his body, turning him into a charming uncle. Not only can my green hat absorb fat, it can also swallow the diseases in other people's bodies. There are still many more functions to be developed. The old demon laughed as he stroked his chin. His face was filled with pride. The green hat source spirit could absorb the fat and grease, turning it into a new kind of energy. This energy would flow through the body, increasing the speed of one's cultivation. Judging from this, he believed that it could even refine diseases. In short, the old demon was fully exploring the potential of Dugu Xuanxiao's body, and the more he explored, the more surprises he had. You can research your own matters. But young master, you suppressed the inner courtyard and became a disciple of the inner courtyard. This is something worth celebrating. Moreover, You have also helped Syogwa and the others create a stable cultivation environment. Old Fourth High was full of praises. This is only a small matter. This time, I'll have to trouble you to use the Merchant Union's power to buy me a stock of life-replenishing grass in western Lyon. Qinhao talked about the main topic, life-replenishing grass. Old High C was a little surprised. This herb was not expensive, but it was very hard to find. Is it difficult? Qinhao's brows jumped as he looked at the other side. It's not difficult. Old High C shook his head and said with a firm gaze, although this herb is rare, it is definitely not a problem to buy it at a high price. When will young master need it? Of course, the sooner the better. If possible, Qinhao could not wait to cure Shen Tianfeng now. After all, he would need a lot of time to recuperate. Then I'll send someone to do it. Oh, by the way, there's still a big matter. Asi doesn't dare to make a decision. Young master, please make a decision. Hai Laosi said solemnly. Then he told the details to Qinhao. It was the treasure that Hai Dafu had been exploring for years. That treasure had cost a lot of money and manpower, and had almost caused Hai Dafu to go bankrupt. Now that it was about to be fully unearthed, the ancestor of the Hai family's business, Hai Dafu, was still running around the Daqin Empire that Qinhao had just established and stabilizing the surrounding relationships. He couldn't spare the energy to come over. Therefore, it would be most appropriate for Qinhao to deal with it on his behalf. This is the main reason why I left Scarlet Sun this time. Qinhao nodded and made Old Four feel relieved. In fact, Qinhao was doing this for the tranquil water. However, the tranquil water was not far from the treasure. It was very likely that they were in the same place, so he could solve it together. That's great. With young master personally handling it, I can finally rest assured. Old Four felt the pressure on him lighten. He let out a long sigh and smiled. The exact time of the excavation will be in 5 days. At that time, I will bring young master to the treasure's location. Almost all of Hai Dafu's assets were used up. Who knew how big the treasure would be? It really made one look forward to it. I'll be back on time in 5 days, but tomorrow I have to make a trip to Dange. Qinhao nodded. Go to Dange? Young master, are you thinking of... Old Four immediately thought of something. That's right. I'm going to deal with the scum that should have been dealt with earlier. It's time for him to pay his debts. Qinhao slowly clenched his fists. When he first arrived in Luoshui, it was difficult for Qinhao to touch Mu Chunfeng because of Danji's influence and his own cultivation. Now, the situation was very different. If that's the case, let second master accompany young master. He has nothing to do anyway. Mu Chunfeng was not a first-class fighter in Luoshui, but with Qinhao's current strength, it would not be difficult to deal with him. However, the one that Old Four was really afraid of was Dange. Dange and the Commerce Alliance were the most powerful forces in western Lyon. If someone from Dange supported Mu Chunfeng, Qinhao might be in danger. Then, Old Four hurriedly gave the old demon a look. Yes. I have nothing to do, and I can't wait to show off. Young master, take me with you. When the time comes, I'll kill whoever I see. No matter who it is, I'll kill them with one slap. I'll turn the entire Dange into a real purgatory under second master's green hat. Their families will be broken, and their families will be destroyed. The old demon said in a hoarse voice, his eyes flashing with murderous intent. F***, don't think about killing people all the time. You're acting like a villain. You better not go. I'll be fine by myself. Qinhao was speechless. He patted his butt and stood up. This old demon was an unstable bomb. All he could think about was bloody scenes. Qinhao was only going to deal with Mu Chunfeng. He was not going to start an all-out war with Dange. How can that be? There are many experts in Dange. It's not appropriate for young master to go alone. You must bring second master, who is a very powerful character, with you. Regarding this, Hai Laosi was very worried. I said it's fine. It's settled then. If you have time, Aku and Old Demon go to Jinling City. Firstly, it's to strengthen Daqin's reputation. Secondly, it's to intimidate the Sword Alliance. Otherwise, they won't know that we don't have any experts on our side. Qinhao turned and left. Although the Sword Young Master's family had merged with Daqin, it was still necessary to intimidate them. Otherwise, the other party would look down on him. It would make Qin Hao look like he was trying to curry favor with them. Well, okay. The old demon and Aka looked at each other and nodded. With just a thought, they could tear through space and teleport over. Of course, the old demon had to do this several times. On the surface, the old demon was a venerable level expert. In reality, he could only unleash the power of a peak king level expert. When they returned to Jinling City, they could help Qin Hao train the new recruits to deal with the future war. At the same time, they could also cultivate. To strengthen themselves, they could work on both sides. If Qin Hao needed help, the old demon would instantly tear through space again. With that, the meeting was adjourned. Old Four was in charge of purchasing the life-replenishing grass. The old demon brought Ku to Jinling City to train soldiers for Qin Hao. However, Qin Hao did not immediately go to Dangu. Instead, he stayed at the trading company for one more day. The reason was that Xiao Jun was too dependent on him, so he played with him for one more day. On the third day, Qin Hao stepped into Dan Ji's headquarters. First, he needed to find Elder Zhun and inform him in advance to avoid unnecessary conflicts with Dan Ji's experts when dealing with Mu Chunfeng. Mu Chunfeng had someone backing him in Dangu. Sorry, but Qin Hao also had someone backing him. Elder Zhun was the internal affairs elder and had absolute authority in Dangu. However, this time, Xing also followed Qin Hao. In her words, following Qin Hao was her duty as a maid. Qin Hao did not refuse. In fact, he knew that Xing missed him too much. After buying her body to bury his father, they had not seen each other for a few months. It was indeed irresponsible of him to leave her in the trading company. It was worth mentioning that Xing's performance greatly exceeded Qin Hao's. From a weak girl without the strength to a 6-star profound sage in a few months, Xing's potential and terror could not be described with the word terrifying. This girl's physique is unimaginably strong. Even I can't see through it. Looking at the beautiful woman beside him, Qin Hao's eyes inadvertently flashed with a look of admiration. At this time, he suddenly remembered Yao Lao's words. Xing was born with spiritual bones. It would be a pity if she did not go to Qiangbin to further her studies. Qin Hao decided to take Xing back to Qiang after getting back the tranquil water. From what Yao Lao said, he intended to take Xing as his disciple. If Xing also gets the qualification to enter the Medicine Valley, Qiang University's chances of winning should be greater. Nodding, Qin Hao was deep in thought. Qiang cared about reputation, while he cared about his master. With Xing's help, Qin Hao's success rate in finding medicinal herbs could also be increased. According to the current situation, the only person who would follow him to the Medicine Valley would be Xiaogua. Of course, Xuehan would also be there. He believed that after Yi Xuehan went through this ordeal, the power of his origin spirit would be awakened. Under the terrifying training of the Dragon Abyss Emperor, it would definitely be a pleasant surprise. Sir, what are you thinking about? Sensing that Qin Hao was in a daze, Xing's beautiful eyes curved slightly. She revealed a sweet smile that was intoxicating. Oh, I was thinking that our Xing is becoming more and more beautiful. No wonder even a young alchemist like Dangu is head over heels for you. Ha ha ha, Qin Hao joked. He did not know how Mu Xiangtian was being served by Commander Jiang in prison. He hoped that it was not too tragic. However, the actual result was far beyond Qin Hao's expectations. Not to mention that Mu Xiangtian was tortured, there was not a single scar on his body. At this moment, he was enjoying a massage from a few girls at Dan Ji's headquarters. He sat on a large chair with a satisfied expression. At this moment, a grand event was going on outside Dangu. The Triennial Alchemist Advancement Competition was in full swing. As the adopted son of the External Affairs Elder, Mu Xiangtian had some ability. It was inevitable that he would become the focus of attention in this competition. Chapter 647. On the day of the Alchemist competition, Dan Ji's branches in every corner of Western Liang would send their young alchemists to participate in the competition. Even some geniuses from other sects would come along, making for an extremely large lineup. With Mu Chuanfeng's ability as an external affairs elder, it was naturally impossible for him to save Mu Xiangtian from prison. In fact, it was Dan Ji's higher-ups who had pressured Jiang Zhengxiong to allow Mu Xiangtian to participate in the competition. He had only been out of prison for a single day, but it was enough to make Mu Xiangtian proud. Thinking back to the scene of him walking out of prison arrogantly while Jiang Zhengxiong glared at him helplessly, he felt particularly happy. Today, I must win the top 3 and make foster father look at me in a different light. I must also attract the attention of Dan Ji's higher-ups in exchange for my eternal freedom. Otherwise, I will be imprisoned again by that bastard Jiang Zhengxiong who colluded with Qin Hao. Nodding angrily, Mu Xiangtian waved his hand and signaled the young girl beside him to leave. More and more people gathered in Dan Ji's square, indicating that the competition was about to begin. With Mu Xiangtian's ability as a 4th-grade alchemist, it was actually very difficult for him to obtain a good ranking. Young Master Xiang, this time you will definitely be able to suppress everyone and show off your invincible style. I have confidence in you. Beside him, a blue-robed man spoke with admiration. He was Mu Xiangtian's protector, which meant that he was a pill slave. His strength was extraordinary, and he was a 4th-layer sky saint. This cultivation was much higher than Mu Xiangtian's. But as everyone knew, the requirements to become an alchemist were extremely harsh. Being a cultivator with a high cultivation didn't mean that they could become an outstanding alchemist. Mental strength and the ability to control fire were extremely important. Therefore, some cultivators with poor innate talent would choose to serve powerful alchemists, forming a contract to protect them and become their pill slave. This was a condition in exchange for pills provided by the alchemist free of charge. It was a win-win situation. But in reality, the alchemist was the master. And this blue-robed man was Mu Xiangtian's pill slave, as well as his #1 expert. Lan Dong, if only I had taken you with me yesterday, I wouldn't have been threatened by that bastard Qin Hao. How dare he not know the immensity of heaven and earth to snatch Xing from me? Just wait and see. Sooner or later, I will make him pay the price in blood. As for suppressing everyone, I don't want to be #1. I just want to sweep away some trash. It's not a problem at all. Mu Xiangtian also patted Lan Dong's shoulder and smiled confidently. Oh, is that so? In your eyes, what kind of people are considered trash? A voice came from afar, filled with a cynical tone. Mu Xiangtian's eyes suddenly narrowed. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man in snow-white robes walking over. This person had a handsome face and an extraordinary appearance. On the young man's chest, there was a special cross-shaped pattern. 10 Directions Academy, Ren Xiaoyao, Mu Xiangtian said solemnly. The white-robed young man was ranked 3rd on the heaven ranking of the 10 Directions Academy. He was a powerful 6th-layer heaven saint and an alchemist. He could be considered a formidable opponent. A Heaven Saint Realm alchemist should be a 6th-grade alchemist in terms of grade. However, Ren Xiaoyao had never reached the 6th grade after taking the assessment several times. So now, he could only display a 5th-grade alchemist. And his 5th-grade alchemist was already 1 grade higher than the 4th-grade alchemist, Mu Xiangtian. Of course, that was in the past. That's right. I also want to hear what kind of people are considered trash in Brother Mu's eyes. For example, Ren Xiaoyao is clearly a heaven saint, but he can only refine a 5th-grade trash pill. Is he considered trash? Ha ha! Accompanied by hearty laughter, another group of people walked over from the crowd. The person in the lead was wearing a mighty black bodysuit with a dragon head pattern embroidered on his chest. So it's Brother Huang Tianba from the Wild Dragon Academy. Long time no see, you're still as strong as before. When Mu Xiangtian saw this person, he hurriedly smiled and greeted him respectfully. He was very friendly and also revealed a hint of admiration. It could be seen that the relationship between the two was not shallow. Huang Tianba was a disciple on the Inner Academy's heaven ranking. He was ranked 2nd and was even stronger than Ren Xiaoyao. He was a 7th-grade heaven saint. What was more commendable was that he had already surpassed Ren Xiaoyao's 5th-grade alchemist bottleneck and successfully passed the assessment to become a 6th-grade alchemist. Hearing the ridicule in Huang Tianba's words, Ren Xiaoyao coldly snorted. Immediately, the group of Mad Dragon Academy's disciples standing behind Huang Tianba all burst into loud laughter. After all, in terms of imposing manner, Huang Tianba of the Mad Dragon Academy had surpassed Ren Xiaoyao. This caused the disciples of the Mad Dragon Academy to feel very proud. Today is really not bad. The people that I don't want to see are all here. How can I be left out? Just as the Wild Dragon Academy disciples were laughing, a group of disciples with starlight patterns flashing on their chests rudely squeezed into the arena and confronted the other party with equal harshness, emitting a thick smell of gunpowder. From their clothes, it was obvious that they were disciples of the Star Moon Academy. The Star Moon Academy was the head of the 4 great academies. Therefore, these people were born with a sense of superiority. Moreover, the one who brought them here was the second on the inner courtyard's heaven ranking, the highly respected Yi Ziming, senior brother Yi. Although Yi Ziming was the same as Huang Tianba, a 6th grade alchemist, his cultivation was 1 level higher than his opponent's. He was in the 8th layer of the heavenly saint realm. Therefore, if the two of them were to compete in alchemy endurance, Huang Tianba would obviously lose to Yi Ziming. This was because Huang Tianba's yuan qi was denser, and the time he took to condense yuan fire was longer. His yuan qi was even longer. Yo, isn't this Yi Ziming who has always been arrogant? I thought someone farted and sent out a person with a mouth full of shit. So it was you who sent out a fart. TSK, TSK. Huang Tianba spoke without any fear. He even clenched his fist threateningly at his opponent. His eyes were fierce, and the corners of his mouth curled up. He had a strong desire to fight. Yi Ziming's cultivation was higher than his, but if they really fought, Huang Tianba might not necessarily lose. This was because Huang Tianba's source spirit was stronger than Yi Ziming's. Therefore, this competition was very interesting. Everyone had their own trump cards. It was very thought-provoking to see who would win the competition. Whether it was Ren Xiaoyao, Huang Batian, Yi Ziming, or even Mu Xiangtian, none of them was convinced. They all felt that they were awesome. 3 out of the 4 academies are here. Why don't I see people from Qiangbin? At this time, Mu Xiangtian smiled meaningfully. When he smiled, everyone laughed. Because Qian University ranked last among the 4 academies, it would be a disgrace if they came. Qian University hadn't participated in the alchemy competition for a long time. And this year, no one would come, because everyone knew that Duan Shuelu, Yin Dashin, and Lin Pingji of the inner courtyard were not good at alchemy. They were a group of boorish men. In fact, Mu Xiangtian and the others didn't know that Duan Shuelu, Yin Dashin, and Lin Pingji had already died in the hands of Qin Hao. I'm here. How can Qiangbin be absent? Although I'm not as strong as you senior brothers, I still shamelessly came. I hope that I can learn from you during the competition. As he spoke, Bai Lang, who had been boasting and bragging in front of everyone at Scarlet Sun Academy, when he arrived at the arena, he bowed to Huang Tianba, Ren Xiaoyao, Yi Ziming, and even Mu Xiangtian. This Bai Lang actually also knew alchemy, but his ability, was very ordinary. Compared with Brother Wei, the alchemy genius, he was naturally inferior, so he looked very humble. Who are you? How can you represent Qiangbin? Huang Tianba glared at him, and his heavenly sage aura spread out. Suddenly, Bai Lang was so scared that his heart beat wildly. That's right. Who do you think you are? I've never heard of your name in the top 3 of the inner courtyard of the 4 academies. Yi Ziming also said. In any case, they represented the 4 big schools. In the end, Qiyong sent a Bai Lang, and he dared to compete with them. He must be tired of living. His level was too low. It was an insult to the 4 big schools. I'm sorry, senior brothers. In fact, Duan Shuelu and Rock Mountain were invited to tea by the King of Hell. And you know that they are not good at alchemy. For example, the number 1 on the heaven list of the 10 Directions Academy and the number 1 on the heaven list of the Wild Dragon Academy are all martial arts fanatics. They only know how to cultivate and don't know alchemy. So I hope that you won't dislike me. Bai Lang, will perform well. Bai Lang nodded and bowed in front of everyone without any backbone. But he also knew that although Run Xiaoyao and Huang Tianba were not the number one on the heaven list of the Wild Dragon Academy and the Ten Directions Academy, their alchemy skills were much better than the number one. In other words, their attainments in alchemy were without a doubt the strongest group of alchemists in the world. Qiang University is really getting worse year by year. They sent a piece of trash. I think after this Medicine Valley competition, they should be removed from the 4 academies. You can't say that. Although the inner courtyard is not good, the newcomers of the outer courtyard are very good this year. I heard that in today's newcomer competition, Qiang University won first place. And a genius disciple from the Wild Dragon Academy went to Qiang University. So what? A newcomer is a newcomer after all. He can't make up for the gap between him and the seniors. Qiang Bin is at least 10 years behind the other 3 academies in terms of training talents. 10 years? You think too highly of them. I'm afraid it will be more than 20 years. When the newcomers of Qiang University rise, the school will have closed down. Ha! A large number of people who came to watch the competition burst into loud laughter. It was very ear-piercing. Some of the Qiang University disciples in the crowd who came to watch the competition also felt very sad and angry. At the same time, they were also very ashamed. They hated it. They hated the fact that the academy did not have a leader. They hated Bai Lang even more. Did he have nothing better to do? Why did he have to participate in a competition like this? How could a dogshit like Bai Lang participate in such a competition with so many experts? Did he not know how to embarrass himself? Hey, what day is it today? Why are there so many people? Suddenly, a voice full of surprise sounded. The voice sounded very calm, but it seemed to have a magical power. It made the people who were laughing stop and look over at the same time. In the distance, a young man and a young woman came over at the same time. They were both dressed in white. The young man had an extraordinary temperament. His eyes were deep and had an unfathomable feeling. As for the young woman, it was indescribable. In short, she was too beautiful. So beautiful that it made people fall head over heels. Even some of the old men who were over 50 years old could not help but feel their hearts flutter. There was no doubt that it was Qin Hao and Xing Er. Xing Er, why are you here? Mu Xiangtian was overjoyed when he saw Xing Er. But then, when he saw Qin Hao beside Xing Er, his overjoyed expression immediately turned ferocious. He clenched his fists and a fire of hatred instantly surged. Chapter 648. No need. Mu Xiangtian waved his hand and stopped him. He took 2 deep breaths and suppressed the anger in his heart. With Xing Er here, he didn't want to show too much anger. That brat is lucky. Lan Dong retracted his killing intent and took a step back. He said, if young Master Xiang doesn't like this person, just tell Lan Dong. To me, killing this person is as easy as letting out a fart. Mu Xiangtian nodded. He didn't doubt Lan Dong's strength at all. Although Qin Hao didn't look easy to deal with, he was definitely not Lan Dong's opponent. After a moment of shock, he thought of a plan. He smiled faintly and looked at Huang Tianba and the other 2. Brother Tianba, Brother Ren, Brother Ziming, you asked me just now what kind of people are considered trash. This person, he brazenly pointed at Qin Hao. He is a useless piece of trash that isn't even worth mentioning. Then, he briefly recounted what happened when he went shopping. He wanted to have a fair fight with Qin Hao, but in the end, Qin Hao was scared and shamelessly colluded with Jiang Zhengxiong to frame Mu Xiangtian and put him in jail. They were truly cowardly and cowardly. There's such a thing? Huang Tianba was shocked. Under the emperor's feet, there is no law. Hey, you dog, get over here and apologize to my brother Xiangtian. Then admit that you committed a crime and get in jail. As he spoke, Huang Tianba blocked in front of Qin Hao. The aura of a 7th-layer heaven saint spread out. He stared at Qin Hao with his eyes wide open. It was very intimidating. At the same time, he pointed at Mu Xiangtian behind him. His good brother was bullied, and Huang Tianba felt that he had a responsibility to stand up for his brother. Mu Xiangtian? Qin Hao was indeed surprised. Why was this guy here? He was supposed to be in prison. Of course, Qin Hao wouldn't suspect that Jiang Zhengxiong let him out on purpose. Jiang Zhengxiong's personality wasn't that bad. There must be something wrong. What are you staring at? I told you to get out and kowtow in front of my brother Xiangtian. Are you deaf? Huang Tianba's eyes widened, and a trace of anger could be seen in them. Qin Hao actually dared to ignore him. No one in the Mad Dragon Inner Court dared to ignore Huang Tianba. Not even the Heaven Leaderboard's #1. A good dog doesn't block the way, Qin Hao replied coldly. Then he pulled Xing towards Dan Ji's hall. Although he didn't know why Mu Xiangtian came out, nor did he know why there was a sea of people in Dan Ji's square, he didn't have the time to waste his breath on a few ants. In Qin Hao's eyes, Huang Tianba, who was weaker than Duan Shuelu, was just a pile of dung. Talking to him would lower his own standards. You dare to call me a dog? You're courting death. Huang Tianba was furious and was ready to attack. After all, he had to show his power in front of Ren Xiaoyao and Yi Ziming. Brother Tianba, please wait. Seeing this, Mu Xiangtian hurriedly went up to stop him. Moreover, he looked at Qin Hao with a cold smile. What are you doing here? It's none of your business. Get lost. Qin Hao said. Are you so afraid to face me? Are you deliberately pretending that you don't know that today is the alchemist competition? Do you want to secretly participate in it so that you don't lose face in front of Xing, because of your lack of strength? Qin Hao, you are really a coward. In terms of strength, Mu Xiangtian admitted that he was no match for Qin Hao. However, in terms of alchemy, he was inferior to Qin Hao with one hand. Even if he closed his eyes and let Qin Hao ride 10,000 horses, Qin Hao still couldn't catch up with him. Therefore, what Mu Xiangtian needed to do was to irritate Qin Hao so that he would lose in alchemy. In this way, Xing would inevitably look at Mu Xiangtian with new eyes. Alchemy competition? Qin Hao was stunned and immediately understood. It turned out that the Danji Square was full of people for the alchemy competition. But unfortunately, I'm not interested. Qin Hao shook his head. As Dindi, Qin Hao did not want to bully a few incompetent people. Competing in alchemy with these people who could not even recognize all the herbs was simply lowering his status. Ha ha ha. Qin Hao. Oh, Qin Hao, you still refuse to admit that you're trash. What a piece of trash that doesn't dare to fight with me. Xing, have you seen through Qin Hao's character? Hurry and stay away from this useless person. Mu Xiangtian placed his hands behind his back and laughed confidently. At this moment, he felt a sense of superiority. His guess was right. Qin Hao indeed did not know how to refine pills. What does my young master's character have to do with you? Xing'er's tone was almost as cold as Qin Hao's. She then looked at Qin Hao. Young master, let's go. Yes. Qin Hao nodded. Stop. Dange is not a place for trash like you, who is not even an alchemist. Huang Tianba was ignored by Qin Hao. He had long wanted to teach him a lesson, so he stopped him again. Speaking of which, who is this person? It's fine that he doesn't dare to fight with Mu Xiangtian, but he's quite arrogant. Yi Ziming, who was on the side, smiled and looked at Ren Xiaoyao. The latter also had a look of contempt. Senior brother Ziming and senior brother Ren Xiaoyao, let Lang Lang tell you who this person is. He is the current #1 person in the inner yard of Qiyang. It was he who sent Duan Shuelu and Yin Dash into hell to drink tea. As a disciple of Qiang Bin, Bai Lang was very surprised by Qin Hao's arrival, but he was indeed the person who knew Qin Hao the best. Then, he took a step forward and explained with a fawning face. As he explained, he also smiled at Qin Hao with depression and hatred in his laughter. But Bai Lang was not afraid at all. Although Qin Hao's strength was indeed quite strong, today was not a martial art competition, but a competition of alchemy. Frankly speaking, Bai Lang even thought that Qin Hao's alchemy skills were not even comparable to his own. What? He killed Duan Shuelu and Rock Mountain? After hearing this, Yi Ziming, Ren Xiaoyao, and Huang Tianba were extremely shocked. In an instant, their expressions became serious. Similarly, when Mu Xiangtian heard this, he almost staggered and knelt on the ground. Qin Hao killed Duan Shuelu and Rock Mountain. They were two masters in the inner yard of Qiyang Inner Yard. Their status was higher than Huang Tianba's, especially Duan Shuelu, who was recognized as a very high ranking in the inner yard of the four academies. What a joke. This must be a joke. Is he qualified to kill Duan Shuelu? If this is true, then the strength of Qiangbin is really declining day by day. Huang Tianba and the other two people's faces were stiff, and they said unnaturally. They laughed awkwardly, but as they laughed, they inexplicably felt a lot better. In their opinion, Qin Hao could not be a match for Duan Shuelu. There must be something strange, or perhaps Qin Hao had used some underhanded means to win. Huang Tianba and the others did not stand face-to-face with Qin Hao on the life and death ring, so they did not know how terrifying Qin Hao was. Of course, they did not believe Bai Lang's words. Believe it or not, in short, it has nothing to do with you. Get out of my way. Qin Hao warned for the last time. This time, he came to see Elder Zhen and then kill Mu Chunfeng. As for the small fries in front of him, Qin Hao was not even interested in fighting with them. What's the noise? Chapter 649. Greetings, Elder Mu. Greetings, Elder Mu and the other elders. Greetings, Registrar Mu. Everyone bowed, including Huang Tianba and the other two. Their attitudes were unusually respectful. Mu Chunfeng had been promoted by Dan Ge from an ordinary elder to the Registrar of External Affairs. His position was above the other elders. Moreover, he was the chief examiner of the competition. Of course, with his strength of the mysterious sage realm, he was only a rank 5 alchemist. More importantly, he was very experienced as a rank 5 alchemist. He had a unique understanding of the theory of medicinal herbs and alchemy techniques. Obviously, the younger generation could not compare to him. Father, Mu Xiangtian walked up to Mu Chunfeng happily. In an instant, he radiated a different temperament and became high and mighty. It was as if his father was the emperor who ruled the world, and Mu Xiangtian had become the crown prince of Dange. It was also at this moment that Huang Tianba and the other elders' attitude toward Mu Xiangtian became much more cordial. Mu Chunfeng nodded and looked at Mu Xiangtian with undisguised gratification. He admired his adopted son very much. In the future, when he groomed him, Mu Xiangtian's position in Dange would not be inferior to his own. Why are you quarreling? Mu Chunfeng asked with his hands behind his back. This person wants to challenge Dange. I don't know why. Mu Xiangtian pointed at Qin Hao and laughed mockingly. I want to see an elder of internal affairs to fulfill our agreement. I want to provide him with the elixir formula and teach him the secret of alchemy. When meeting his enemy, Qin Hao obviously would not be nice to him. However, this was not the time to fall out with him. Hence, he said flatly, according to the agreement, Qin Hao should indeed sign an agreement with Elder Zhen for the next batch of elixirs. Moreover, he did not know how much money he had earned from selling the Saint Spear elixirs. Hence, he had to collect his debt this time. Ha ha! Is this kid crazy? He wants to see the Elder of Internal Affairs? He wants to teach his weak alchemy skills to the Elder of Internal Affairs of Dange? What a shameless boast. He doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He is obviously an idiot. He has no sense of shame at all. Hurry up and drive him away. He is an eyesore. Everyone laughed. Huang Tianba waved his hand as if he was a beggar and ordered the disciples of Mad Dragon Academy to drive Qin Hao away. Elder of Internal Affairs? Young man, do you know where you are? Mu Chunfeng pulled a long face and pointed at the big plaque hanging at the entrance of a hall behind him. On it were the words Elixir Pavilion Headquarters, written in purple and gold. The words were written in a special way, and they looked like celestial smoke that was about to fly out of the wooden board. Moreover, there were a few domineering pictures of cauldrons carved at the corner of the plaque. Noble aura. Dange, Qin Hao said coldly. Since you know it's the Pill Pavilion and you're not an alchemist, what right do you have to meet the Internal Affairs Elder? Mu Chunfeng waved his sleeves. Want to see the Elder of Internal Affairs? That was a fool's dream. Even Mu Chunfeng had to make an appointment if he wanted to see the Elder of Internal Affairs, especially Elder Zhen, who was the busiest in internal affairs. Meeting him was harder than ascending to heaven. "Father, please wait. Since he wants to see the Elder of Internal Affairs, I will grant him a chance." Mu Xiangtian pointed to a high platform in the middle of the square and said to Qin Hao provocatively, "Get on the platform and participate in the sacred alchemy competition with me. If you can refine a fourth-grade pill, you could become Dan Ji's alchemist. At that time, you will be qualified to see the Elder of Internal Affairs. How about it? Do you dare to compete with me in alchemy in front of Miss Xing? Mu Xiangtian said impatiently. "Looks like I have no choice but to compete." Qin Hao shook his head helplessly. It was so troublesome to meet Ahua. Elder Zhen's name was Zhen Kaiwa. In private, Qin Hao had always called him Ahua. "Qin Hao, this is the opportunity I'm giving you. It's also the opportunity you've been looking for. It's also your last chance. I hope you don't disappoint me." Seeing Qin Hao shake his head and sigh, Mu Xiangtian was even more confident. "All right, I'll reluctantly compete with you." Qin Hao could only nod and agree. He had to get Dan Ji's alchemist qualification certificate first and become a member of Dan Ji's team. Actually, as long as he showed the overturning ground seal, there would be no need to go through so much trouble. He was just afraid that Mu Xiangtian would not believe him and accuse Qin Hao. At that time, Qin Hao might not be able to see the Elder of Internal Affairs. He might even be accused of theft. "Ha, you're finally not a coward anymore. Next, I'll crush you in front of Miss Xing." Mu Xiangtian looked at Xing affectionately, hoping to get an encouraging look from her. "Since you want to compete, young master, do your best." Xing only had Qin Hao in her eyes and encouraged him with a smile. Puffed. Mu Xiangtian felt his chest tighten and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Little brother, are you all right?" Huang Tianba asked in concern. He wanted to show Mu Chunfeng that he had a passionate relationship with his son. "I'm fine." Mu Xiangtian clenched his fists and swore to make Qin Hao suffer a crushing defeat. He then said to the crowd, "Let's go, everyone. We'll go to the Genius platform together and test our cultivation this year. Let's see who has improved the most. Then, we'll decide who is the champion before my adoptive father and uncles." The competition this time was divided into two arenas. On the high platform was the arena for geniuses. The participants were people like Huang Tianba, who came from the 4 great academies. There were also people from other sects and some outstanding alchemists from the Pill Pavilion's branch hall. As for the others, they had to compete below the high platform. It was like setting up a stall. It was very lowly. The arenas below the high platform were ordinary arenas. The participants in the ordinary arenas clearly had no future, so the most exciting place was naturally the Genius platform. Letting this person go to the Genius platform with us is simply an insult to my status. Rin Xiaoyao from the 10 Directions Academy was extremely dissatisfied, but he did not refuse. After all, Mu Xiangtian was Mu Chunfeng's adoptive son. He then walked towards the high platform angrily. "Sir, I hope you won't embarrass yourself too much. You can't even refine a trash pill with impurities." Yi Ziming shook his head at Qin Hao and pretended to sympathize with him. However, the sneer at the corner of his mouth showed that he looked down on Qin Hao. "Come, kid, show me your talent. Let's see if you can refine the worst pill." "Ha!" Huang Tianba and Mu Xiangtian also laughed and left. "Sigh, my son is loyal to his friends. However, he has the same style as me when it comes to showing off. Since that's the case, please take your seats. Let us see the potential of our juniors." Mu Chunfeng smiled and exchanged glances with the 4 elders in charge of external affairs. Then they all sat in the judges' seats. "Hee, Qin Hao, look. I, Bai Lang, am the one who put in a good word for you. I'll give you a chance to perform. You have to do your best. I won't keep you company." Ha. The competition was about to begin. Bai Lang mocked Qin Hao and then walked down the high platform to the northern area. Even with Bai Lang's qualifications, he could only stay in the most ordinary northern area. Even so, he did not know if he could make a name for himself. Fortunately, even if he embarrassed himself, not many of his fellow disciples would know. Qin Hao was different. If Qin Hao could not even refine a first-grade pill, he would lose the dignity of the entire Scarlet Sun inner courtyard. At that time, he, the first on the heaven ranking, would not be able to stand in the inner courtyard. He might even be expelled from the inner courtyard. This was by Lang's viciousness. "You're just a clown? I hope you don't die too early," Qin Hao said coldly. Then he walked toward the center of the genius stage. His steps were steady. He did not show the slightest bit of fear under the gazes of tens of thousands of people. Instead, he seemed to be enjoying it. After all, before he became Dindi, he had also participated in such a grand alchemist competition. He had stood out in the competition and created one miracle after another. For example, all the peerless pills in the continent were created by Qin Hao. Qin Hao's alchemy skills have been studied by many alchemists. In the end, not many people could successfully imitate him. Today's grand alchemy competition made Qin Hao feel a little nostalgic. "Young master, wait a moment. Do you have a furnace?" Just as Qin Hao went up the stage, Xing called out to him from behind. Qin Hao turned around and saw Xing Er's anxious eyes. The people who came to the competition all prepared their furnaces in advance. Furthermore, they were all good furnaces. Chapter 650. If Qin Hao could not even bring out a furnace for the competition, he would definitely be laughed at by many alchemists. That would be very embarrassing. Qin Hao smiled and wanted to tell Xing, "Don't worry, I have a furnace." Mu Xiangtian spoke first. He stood on the stage and shook his head, sighing, This is beyond my expectations. It's normal for someone who doesn't know alchemy to not have a furnace. It's my fault that I didn't prepare a furnace for you beforehand. That's why I only have one furnace on me. Speaking of which, my furnace is extremely precious. Everyone, please take a look at it." As he spoke, Mu Xiangtian waved his hand and a beam of light shot out. A furnace flew out of the spatial ring and landed on the pill table in front of him. The furnace glowed brightly and was engraved with a Tai Chi diagram. The light spun around the Tai Chi diagram, looking very mysterious and dazzling. It's actually the Tai Chi 8 trigrams purple gold furnace. At the judges' table, one of the elders, Dan Gu, exclaimed in surprise. He also looked at the head examiner, Mu Chunfeng, in disbelief. The Tai Chi 8 trigrams purple gold furnace was Mu Chunfeng's furnace. He had used 100,000 contribution points to exchange for it from Dan Ji's treasury. Not only was it extremely precious, but it was also the only one of its kind. He had actually passed it down to his adopted son. The other 3 elders were also shocked. "Everyone, please don't be surprised. Although Xiangtian is my adopted son, I have always treated him like my own. In the future, he will inherit my legacy. Giving him the furnace to participate in the competition is a bit of a bully. I'm really sorry." Mu Chunfeng smiled hypocritically. With the Tai Chi purple gold furnace, Mu Xiangtian's primordial fire consumption would be greatly reduced. Moreover, the success rate of refining pills would be higher. The profoundness of this was not something that could be explained in a short time. Even if he did not accept it, no one present dared to look down on this furnace. Many alchemy contestants even looked at Mu Xiangtian with envy. They wished they could become Mu Chunfeng's son. Uncle Chunfeng's Tai Chi purple gold furnace is indeed extraordinary, but our Huang family is not to be trifled with. Huang Tianba saw this and did not want to be left behind. He also showed his furnace. In terms of appearance, his furnace could not be compared to the Tai Chi purple gold furnace. Huang Tianba's furnace was the size of a water bucket. It was round and pitch black like an egg made of gunpowder. It looked rough and heavy. Could this be the heirloom of Huang Yaoshi's family? The Black Wind furnace of good fortune? On the referee's seat, a Pill Pavilion elder recognized him. That's right. It's our family's Black Wind good fortune furnace. My father gave it to me yesterday. Huang Tianba proudly raised his head. His furnace was not any worse than Mu Xiangtian's. The Black Wind furnace of good fortune was engraved with wind spirit inscriptions, as well as spirit arrays. When refining elixirs, the chi of elixir wind could be generated spontaneously. It could also greatly enhance the quality of the elixir refined, and even allow one to refine elixirs of a higher level. Brother Huang is really generous. You even gave your family's heirloom to nephew Tianba. Mu Chunfeng said with some pressure. There was a hint of jealousy in his words. For him to be jealous of a junior, it was obvious just how bad his character was. It was just like how he had been jealous of Dan Xian's alchemy ability 40 years ago. The Black Wind Good Fortune Furnace is good, but I, Ren Xiaoyao, am not easy to deal with. Everyone, please take a look. Ren Xiaoyao also made his move. With a flick of his sleeve, an alchemy furnace carved with auspicious patterns of dragons and phoenixes flew out from his sleeve. The moment the alchemy furnace appeared, the sound of dragons and phoenixes faintly sounded in the arena. It was very auspicious and noble. Wow, it can't be the dragon flying phoenix furnace, right? It is said that this furnace has the spirituality of spiritual beasts. The elixirs refined will have the spiritual energy of spiritual beasts. It is very beneficial to Yuan cultivators. It is said that this furnace has been lost for a long time. I didn't expect it to fall into the hands of the dean of the inner yard of Shifang Academy. There was a lot of discussion in the audience. Ren Xiaoyao's father was the dean of the inner yard of Shifang Academy. He was also an outstanding alchemist. Suddenly, Ren Xiaoyao proudly raised his nose. Haha, in that case, Yi Ziming will not hide it. I will also take out my trump card to compare with everyone. Yi Ziming said coldly, but he did not take out the furnace. Instead, he lifted his robe and pulled out a pair of gloves from his crotch. These gloves were very unusual. They were golden and dazzling, blinding the eyes of a group of people. While speaking, Yi Ziming put on the gloves, then shook them and nodded. He felt very comfortable. These are elixir forging alchemy gloves. It is said that wearing these gloves does not require an alchemy furnace at all. They can completely gather fire to form elixirs. Because the medicinal materials are closest to the palm, their ability to absorb fire far surpasses that of an alchemy furnace. Refining elixirs with these gloves can greatly increase the speed. Oh my God, today is really an eye-opener. In an instant, the entire arena was in an uproar. The competition had not yet begun, but the contestants on the Genius platform had all taken out unusual treasured alchemy furnaces, which made the audience look forward to it even more. They wanted to see whether the Taiji Purple Gold Furnace or the Black Wind Good Fortune Furnace was better. There was also the Dragon Flying Phoenix Furnace or the Elixir Forging Alchemy Gloves that were better. Accompanied by the discussion, Xinger in the audience could not help but look more nervous and clench her small hands. The competition had not yet begun, but the pressure and difficulty of the opponents had already invisibly suppressed Qin Hao. Not to mention that Qin Hao did not have a suitable furnace at the moment. Even if he did, how could he be a match for these treasures and gloves? Elders, respected contestants, I am Qian Bai Lang. I also have an alchemy furnace. Although it is not as good as the four big brothers, it can barely catch your attention. Everyone, please take a look. Bai Lang's hoarse shout came from the northern area. The audience could not help but look over. Then, they saw Bai Lang take out a white alchemy furnace and place it on the alchemy table. It was as flawless as white jade. Just based on its appearance, it was indeed extraordinary. What kind of furnace is this? Could it be made of jade? Using jade to refine elixirs? Several Dangu elders looked at each other, feeling that this was very novel. That's right. My family specializes in jade trading, so I spent a lot of money to hire a 7th-grade blacksmith to forge this jade artifact. The jade embryo of this furnace is naturally formed from 1,000-year-old Heavenly Mountain snow jade. Next, Bai Lang explained the furnace's function in detail. In terms of function, it was not any weaker than the alchemy furnace of the contestants on the Genius platform. It's actually refined by a 7th-grade alchemy master. It's really a rare treasure. If I'm lucky enough to get it, I'll definitely become a 4th-grade alchemy master. If this jade furnace falls into your hands, it'll be an insult to furnaces. There was a lot of discussion below the stage, and they were envious of Bai Lang again. Many people were willing to pay a sky-high price to buy Bai Lang's furnace. Ha ha! I'm sorry, everyone. From today onwards, this furnace will be listed as my family heirloom. I'll pass it down to my son, and my son will pass it down to my grandson, so I won't sell it no matter how much money you give me. But then again, Even an inconspicuous character like me has such an awesome furnace. This furnace has always been the #1 on the heaven ranking in the inner yard, so it definitely won't disappoint you, right, Qin Hao? Ha ha. Actually, after saying so much, Bai Lang only had one goal, which was to crush Qin Hao in material terms and make him look bad. He wanted to raise his own status and attract people's attention. However, he had achieved his goal. At this moment, everyone's gazes gathered on Qin Hao again. They all wanted to see what qualifications this new #1 on the heaven ranking in the inner yard of Scarlet Sun Academy had to gain a foothold on the genius platform. Young master, Xing said nervously. Aside from being anxious, her eyes were filled with intense killing intent. She wanted to kill Bai Lang immediately. The other party was clearly mocking Qin Hao. It's fine. Actually, I wanted to say that I have a furnace. Look, Qin Hao did not care about the gazes of the 10,000 people. He smiled and calmly took out the small alchemy furnace from his spatial ring. This small alchemy furnace gave off a simple and old green luster. Some parts of it were bumpy, and some of its color had even faded. There were also scratches. This was a first small gift that Dan Xian gave Qin Hao when he broke through to the essence-gathering realm. Thinking back to that time, it was filled with the care of that sloppy old man. What the hell is this? You call this an alchemy furnace? The #1 on the Scarlet Sun heavenly ranking wouldn't use this kind of junk to participate in the sacred Dango competition, right? This is an insult to Dan Ji's sacred competition. He doesn't even have a decent furnace. I think we should just kick him out. Qin Hao's performance caused many alchemists to be dissatisfied. In the eyes of the other contestants, Dan Ji's triennial competition was sacred. For the sake of the competition, who would not pay a high price in advance to search for precious alchemy furnaces? This was the only way to prove the respect an alchemist had for the competition. On the other hand, Qin Hao clearly looked down on such a sacred competition, especially Huang Tianba and the others standing beside Mu Xiangtian. Their faces were distorted with anger. Qin Hao took out a piece of junk from the trash can. He actually wanted to compete with their furnace of good fortune, Dragon Phoenix furnace, and core forging gloves. He was looking down on everyone. Bai Lang, who was in the crowd, laughed even more excitedly. Fellow alchemists, the beauty and ugliness of a furnace cannot prove the quality of a person's furnace, nor can it prove the ability of an alchemist. For an alchemist, external tools are very important, because special alchemy furnaces can greatly improve the quality of our alchemy. However, don't forget that they're only helping us. The essence of alchemy is still in the person's body. A truly powerful alchemist will never care about what kind of furnace they have in their hands. Even if they have a broken bowl, it will not change their confidence in the quality of their pills. Qin Hao was neither angry nor discouraged. He was neither servile nor overbearing. Every word was like gold as he expressed his understanding of alchemy. His theory immediately caused quite a stir. In the past, people thought that the most important thing for an alchemist was the furnace. The furnace affected the quality of the pills, but they often neglected themselves. Were they? They were alchemists. Furnaces were just furnaces. Furnaces were not alchemists. These words would deeply influence dozens of generations in the future. Instantly, the place fell silent. Some old alchemists who had been stuck in alchemy for many years actually showed signs of a breakthrough after hearing Qin Hao's words. It could be said that one word was better than 10,000 books. That's ridiculous. If you don't have the ability, don't talk nonsense. To put it bluntly, you are just hiding your incompetence. An outstanding alchemist should have a furnace. Only someone like you, who is not even an alchemist, would take out a piece of trash that is not an alchemy furnace. Mu Xiangtian saw that many people had changed their opinion of Qin Hao. He could not help but feel angry. He had perfectly inherited his father, Mu Chuanfeng's jealousy. He could not bear to see others with a deep understanding of alchemy. My son is right. A good alchemist should have a good furnace. Could it be that the people holding broken bowls on the street are all people of great stature, even more powerful than me? Mu Chunfeng? Haha, this is simply the biggest joke in the world. I don't have time to listen to the nonsense of a junior. Let us use our eyes to prove it. Come on, announced the start of the competition. Mu Chunfeng was the same as his son. He waved his hand and announced the start of the competition. He did not have time to listen to the nonsense of 5 juniors. For the first assessment of the Triennial Alchemy Conference in Western Liang, please gather your primordial fire. Immediately, the MC in charge of the competition stood on the high platform. He gathered his chi and shouted in a deep voice. The first assessment was to measure the ability of the contestants to gather their primordial fire. The ability to gather primordial fire had a great impact on an alchemist. Those who had special primordial fire would usually refine pills that were more powerful than others. Chapter 651. As soon as the order was given, the arena was suddenly dazzling. Colorful flames were condensed in the palms of the contestants one after another, rising slowly. The scene was spectacular, as if thousands of people were holding torches for a bonfire party. The temperature in the square suddenly rose, but everyone present was an alchemist. They were used to the high temperature in the alchemy room, so they didn't feel uncomfortable. However, the flames of different colors in the arena attracted the admiration of the older generation of alchemists. Among them, the worst primordial fire was blue, which meant that the contestant was at the origin grandmaster realm and was a third-grade alchemist. The strongest one was orange, which meant that the fire was at the saint level. The flames of the contestants were also divided into strong and weak ones. The color of the primordial fire couldn't prove a person's alchemy ability. Most of the contestants couldn't condense flames that were comparable to their own. For example, some of the saint-level alchemists with poor aptitude could only condense a blue primordial fire that was one level lower than their own, which meant that they couldn't break through the bottleneck of the fourth-grade alchemist. Record the grade of each contestant's primordial fire in detail. Mu Chunfeng nodded and gave the order with great style. As soon as he finished speaking, about 100 members of the Dangu Club walked to every corner of the arena with paper and pens in their hands. They began to record the grade of each contestant's primordial fire, which was also evidence to judge the level of the alchemist. 6th grade primordial fire rise. On the high platform, Huang Tianba roared like thunder. The primordial qi in his meridians condensed in his palm, and a dense orange primordial fire rose. It was a foot high. He laughed and looked at Ren Xiaoyao beside him. Ren Xiaoyao's primordial fire was also orange, but it was only half a foot high. Its strength was obviously weaker than Huang Tianba's, which meant that he was only a 5th-grade alchemist. No wonder Huang Tianba didn't like Ren Xiaoyao. Therefore, the old man on the high platform looked at Huang Tianba with his eyes on the shore, then shook his head and looked at Ren Xiaoyao. He recorded the grades of their primordial fires on paper and pen. It's just a 6th-grade primordial fire. What's there to be proud of? I have one too, and it's stronger than yours. Yi Ziming snorted and immediately stretched out his palm. Boom! A cluster of flames rushed out of his palm. As it burned, the color of his primordial fire, which was supposed to be orange, gradually turned yellow, which surprised many people. Oh my God! How can a 6th-grade alchemist condense an unusual yellow flame? It's 2. What do you know? That's a heavenly flame. The success rate and quality of pills refined with deviant flames will be much higher, far surpassing that of ordinary alchemists. Yi Ziming is already a saint-grade alchemist. In addition, he has a strange flame. It looks like he'll be the champion this time. Yeah, I think so too. It's really amazing. In the 4 normal arenas, many contestants were looking at Yi Ziming with eyes full of admiration and envy. Yi Ziming was truly the darling of the alchemy god. Not only was his strength high, but he also possessed a deviant flame. All the good things were concentrated on him alone. Hi, Yi Ziming have a strand of the mysterious yellow flame. The mysterious yellow flame is ranked 53rd among the mysterious flames. I'm a natural-born alchemist. In the future, I'll definitely be able to reach unprecedented heights in alchemy. Actually, my dream is to chase after the legendary Dende from 600 years ago in Daqing. Yi Ziming was wearing the core refining gloves as he raised the mysterious yellow flame in his hand with a proud expression. He was the darling of the alchemy god. At the same time, his eyes were filled with yearning for the legendary Dindi of the continent. He hoped that he could reach Dinda's level in the future. Of course, this was only his fantasy. 100 Yi Ziming couldn't compare to a single Dinda from Daqin, because there was only one unparalleled Dindi in the world. Brother Ziming is truly amazing. You're a 6th grade alchemist, and you have the core refining gloves and the mysterious yellow flame. It looks like you came prepared this time. But don't look down on me, Mu Xiangtian. You'll soon see how amazing I am. Mu Xiangtian gave a strange smile as he gathered the sacred yellow flame in his hand. He was only a 4th grade alchemist, much weaker than Yi Ziming. On the surface, it looked like he wasn't his opponent at all. But in reality, Mu Xiangtian had a trump card. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to compete with the heaven-ranking masters of the 4 great schools on the Genius platform. As he spoke, he looked at Xing below the stage with a proud expression, wanting her to praise him. But there was only worry in Xing eyes. She was completely focused on Qin Hao. The more she looked, the stronger the shock in her eyes, and the more exaggerated her expression became. In the end, her little mouth opened into a circle and her face was filled with disbelief. It was also at this moment that there was a scream in the arena. Heavens, everyone look! Someone on the Genius platform has condensed a king-level origin fire. A contestant pointed at Qin Hao in shock. Nonsense. Everyone here is a junior alchemist, who can step into the king level and become a 7th grade alchemist grandmaster. Heavens, it really is a king-level origin fire. Some people didn't believe it first, but when they turned their heads, they were instantly stunned by the scene in front of them. On the high platform, a wisp of red flame rose from Qin Hao's palm. In the blink of an eye, the red flame became even redder until it was as red as blood. The terrifying red light instantly covered the brightness of the origin fire in everyone's palms. Even Yi Ziming's heaven yellow fire was overshadowed by Qin Hao's red flame. In the end, only the red light was left on the high platform. The light of the other contestants had been completely swallowed up. How is this possible? Mu Chuanfeng's expression changed immediately. His expression changed drastically, and he couldn't help but stand up. Then, the 4 Dangu elders beside him also stood up one after another. Their faces were filled with indescribable shock and disbelief. Qin Hao's origin fire proved that he was a king-level alchemist and a 7th grade alchemist. A 7th grade alchemist was an absolute high-end existence in Western Lyon. There were only a few 8th grade alchemists who were higher than a 7th grade alchemist. Perhaps only the Pavilion Master and Deputy Pavilion Master Dango were supreme grade alchemists. At this moment, the shock in everyone's hearts could be imagined. They were merely 5th grade alchemists. How could they dare to be judges for a 7th grade alchemy grandmaster? Wasn't this a joke? Elders Dango, please don't be nervous. To be honest, my origin fire is also an extraordinary fire. Moreover, I'm not a 7th grade alchemist. Usually, I only know a little about alchemy. Until now, I have not participated in any assessment. Therefore, I do not know what level my ability is. Qin Hao smiled. Seeing old dog Mu lose his composure and panic, there was a trace of joy in his heart. Then, he explained his extraordinary fire to everyone. It was only the sunset cloud flame, which was ranked 70th on the list of extraordinary fires. This ranking was actually far below Yi Ziming's heaven yellow fire. This made everyone heave a sigh of relief. Just now, they felt as if a mountain was pressing down on their hearts, and they didn't dare to act rashly. If Qin Hao was really a 7th grade alchemist, then there was no need to participate in the competition. He could directly go to Dan Ji's internal affairs and get a high position as an internal affairs elder. It wouldn't be a problem at all. You scare this old man. I thought you were really an expert. Huang Tianba wiped the cold sweat on his head. Sunset Cloud Flame, it's only a so-so. Yi Ziming immediately regained his composure. Although Qin Hao's Sunset Cloud Flame was not as good as his Heaven Yellow Fire, compared to other mediocre alchemists, Qin Hao's innate conditions were clearly superior, and he was more suitable to be an alchemist. So what if you have an extraordinary fire? If your ability to control fire is not good enough and you don't know the combination of herbs and alchemy techniques, even if you have a divine weapon, you won't be able to use it at all. I will make you lose miserably. Mu Xiangtian mocked, his words filled with jealousy. Why did Qin Hao have an extraordinary fire when he didn't know alchemy? This was too much of a waste of natural resources. Mu Xiangtian should have an extraordinary fire. However, if he could defeat Qin Hao, who had an extraordinary fire, Mu Xiangtian would be filled with pride, and he would be able to prove that he was stronger in front of Sheng Er. It's a pity for such a good seedling. If he was nurtured from a young age, his alchemy skills would probably have some accomplishments now. What a pity. At the judges' table, Elder Dan Gu sighed, filled with regret. The others also expressed their agreement. If Qin Hao was a little younger, they would definitely fight to take him in as a disciple. Actually, Qin Hao's current age was not very old. He was only 18 or 19 years old. Most importantly, he only had a superficial understanding of alchemy. He probably couldn't even differentiate herbs. Familiarizing himself with herbs and practicing fire control would take a very long time. At least a few years, at most a decade. By the time Qin Hao completely familiarized himself with herbs, he would have become a greasy middle-aged man. His accomplishments would not be too high, so everyone felt it was a pity. Sheng Er, who was watching from the sidelines, felt very uncomfortable. She had indeed been greatly shocked earlier. However, in the end, Qin Hao only had a powerful, extraordinary fire, but only a little understanding of alchemy. She could not help but worry. On the other hand, Huang Tianba and the others all came from prestigious families. They had read all kinds of alchemy manuals since young and had been taught by many alchemists. Their alchemy skills must be very powerful. Young master, you have to do your best. Sheng Er secretly encouraged him. Although she had been happy for nothing, she had never given up on Qin Hao. Since that's the case, please start refining pills. The grade and quality of the pills you refine will determine your results. Mu Chunfeng returned to his seat and glanced at Qin Hao a little more casually. He had a different feeling about this young man, especially the furnace in front of Qin Hao. He felt like he had seen it before. However, it had been so long that he could not recall it. And in this competition, whoever refined the highest grade pill would not be the champion. It would also be based on the method of fire control and the quality of the finished pill. Of course, the higher the grade and quality of the pill, the better it would be. As they spoke, the thousands of contestants on the Genius platform, East, South, West, and North, all displayed their abilities. They were like the 8 immortals crossing the sea, all of them doing their best to display their alchemy skills. Mu Xiangtian and the others quickly went to the alchemy table and threw herbs into their furnaces. As they shouted, they circulated their qi to refine pills. Black wind, rise for me. Huang Tianba's huge palm slapped his pitch-black cauldron. The cauldron floated in the air and began to spin rapidly. At the same time, a black wind pattern appeared out of nowhere. Gradually, the black wind became denser and denser until the cauldron was completely covered in black gas. The fragrance of the pills wafted out of his cauldron. The fragrance of the furnace grew stronger and stronger. The auspicious dragon appears, and the phoenix arrives. Ren Xiaoyao saw this and shouted softly. He also threw the furnace that he had thrown herbs into above his head. Chapter 652. Huang Tianba and Ren Xiaoyao's unfathomable alchemy techniques attracted a lot of attention from the audience. They praised Huang Tianba and Ren Xiaoyao for their extraordinary alchemy skills and said that the alchemy pills they refined would definitely be divine pills that were hard to come by. No matter how hard you work, no matter how gorgeous your techniques are, you are destined to become my Yi Ziming's stepping stones. Today's triennial alchemy competition will be my private stage. It will also be the beginning of my alchemy skills stepping into the East Continent and shocking the whole continent. Yi Ziming said arrogantly. Then he bent his palms and clasped them into 5 claws. He kept grabbing the medicinal herbs on the alchemy table in front of him. His movements were so fast that it was dazzling. As he kept grabbing, medicinal herbs flew over one after another. Under the control of his mental strength, they were mixed into a ball and gathered between his hands. Because he didn't use an alchemy furnace, Yi Ziming began to refine alchemy in public. Mysterious yellow flame rise. Yi Ziming gathered his qi into a fire. The yellow flame grew bigger in his palms, emitting a dazzling yellow light. He hurriedly wrapped up the medicinal herbs and refined them under the effect of the pill forging gloves. Gradually, his mysterious yellow flame became too dazzling and strong. So, the process of refining the alchemy was completely covered. The people outside could no longer see the real situation. They could only see the faint shadow of an alchemy pill in the raging yellow flame. As expected of the pill forging gloves, the alchemy effect is much better than the furnace. Moreover, Yi Ziming also has the mysterious yellow flame. He is very likely to win the championship. I saw him take out a vermilion bird plume from his interspatial ring during the refining process. That vermilion bird plume is a 6th grade sacred herb and is extremely expensive. He actually used it as an ingredient to refine it. I don't know what kind of amazing miracle Yi Ziming will bring to us in the end. I can't wait to see his alchemy pills. The crowd was in a heated discussion. They were completely shocked by Yi Ziming's alchemy skills. Furthermore, he predicted that the pills that Yi Ziming refined would be incomparably precious. I'm sorry, but this stage is not Yi Ziming's stage. It's my Mu Xiangtian's private stage. In my eyes, aren't you Yi Ziming a trash stepping stone? Now it's time to witness the miracle of Mu Xiangtian. Mu Xiangtian didn't want to fall behind. Similarly, after he threw in the medicinal herbs, he lifted the furnace above his head. In an instant, the Tai Chi furnace shone brightly and expanded to 10 meters in size, like a huge illusory furnace. The illusory furnace stood tall in the air, looking incomparably majestic. As the Taiji diagram on it revolved, it immediately caused a commotion. Mu Xiangtian immediately used all his strength to condense the primordial fire and urged the primordial fire with a heart-wrenching and lung-splitting effort. Under the 10-meter huge furnace, it seemed to be extremely strenuous. Taiji Heavenly Lightning Talisman Go. Swallowing many pills to replenish essence energy in one go, Mu Xiangtian knew that because his cultivation was too low, it was very difficult for him to support such a huge consumption of essence fire. In order to speed up the refining process, he raised his hand and took out a stack of long pieces of paper, throwing them into the air. There were a total of 8 pieces of paper pasted on the 8 sides of the Tai Chi furnace, forming an 8-trigram spiritual array. After the 8 pieces of paper gathered, they immediately erupted with their own power. A surge of surging electric net wrapped around the huge Tai Chi furnace, and at this moment, Mu Xiangtian's primordial fire burned even more vigorously. It's actually a rune incantation. Oh my god, and looking at the power of this rune, it's definitely not inferior to a 5th grade rune, maybe even a 6th grade rune. No wonder Mu Xiangtian is so arrogant. He actually has a rune trump card, and pasted the rune on his furnace to enhance it. The audience below the stage was very surprised. At this moment, Mu Chunfeng, who was at the judge's table, stroked his beard and smiled with satisfaction. Commentator Mu, in order to support Xiangtian in the competition, you've really put in a lot of effort. Elder Dangu, who was beside him, sighed. It was actually very difficult to obtain runes to enhance one's primordial fire. This was because rune masters and inscriptionists were rarer professions than alchemists, and they were very mysterious. No one knew where Mu Chunfeng had found a rune master, and he had successfully obtained 8 lightning runes to help Mu Xiangtian. He had really put in a lot of effort. Xiangtian is my son, and of course, I'll give him my full support. In fact, this is also for the sake of Dangu, isn't it? Don't you want to see Xiangtian win a championship for Dangu? Mu Chunfeng smiled disapprovingly. In fact, the 8 lightning runes were genuine 6th grade runes. With the enhancement of the 6th grade runes and the Tai Chi furnace's own effects, Mu Xiangtian's alchemy skills had invisibly risen to a 6th grade standard, and refining a 6th-grade divine pill was not a problem at all. Of course, after this competition, Mu Xiangtian's primordial qi would be exhausted, and because of excessive consumption, it was very likely that he would be unable to walk for a month. Therefore, this incomparably impressive scene was only enough for Mu Xiangtian to show off once. Although it was only once, it was more than enough. It's a rune technique, Brother Xiangtian. Even I am starting to envy you. You have a good father. Huang Tianba was a little angry and said unwillingly. With the enhancement of the lightning runes, Mu Xiangtian's current strength was definitely not inferior to anyone in the Genius platform, and the quality of the pills that he refined might even be better. Haha, you flatter me. More than half of my pills have been completed, and I just need another 10 breaths to complete the refinement. Everyone work hard. Mu Xiangtian responded happily, and his face was filled with pride. However, in reality, his condition was not good. He was so tired that he was drenched in sweat, and his face was pale. Therefore, his smile was uglier than a ghost's. Immediately, the others stopped talking and began to refine pills with all their might. After all, refining pills required concentration, and one could not be distracted. Otherwise, if the primordial fire was slightly weaker or stronger, it might affect the quality of their pills. Why is Qin Hao not moving on the stage? Could it be that the number 1 person on the heaven leaderboard of the Scarlet Sun Inner Yard is really an idiot in alchemy? All the contestants were trying their best to display their talents, and only Qin Hao was left. Until now, he had not moved at all, and this attracted the attention of the crowd. This made Xing who was below the stage, very anxious. Haha, Qin Hao, don't tell me you don't even know how to mix herbs? If that's the case, I have to apologize to you. I forced you to go on stage and make a fool of yourself, but to be honest, I feel very good. Ha ha ha. This was the result that Mu Xiangtian wanted. He wanted to see Qin Hao stand on the stage like a fool, with a helpless and unwilling expression. Immediately, Mu Xiangtian said, "If you don't like me, then do your best and refine a pill. Even if you can refine the trashiest 1st-grade pill, I, Mu Xiangtian, am willing to buy it for 100,000 earth crystals. Unfortunately, you can't refine it, huh?" Hiss. Gasps could be heard from below the stage. Even Huang Tianba and the other 2 on the stage looked sideways with shocked expressions. 100,000 earth crystals was not a small amount, and Mu Xiangtian was like a nouveau riche. However, based on his adoptive father, Mu Chuanfeng's status in Dangu, it was not impossible for him to take out 100,000 earth crystals. Even so, this was a little too exaggerated, and he looked down on Qin Hao too much. In fact, at this moment, Mu Chuanfeng, who was at the judge's table, suddenly felt his heart twitch violently. 100,000 earth crystals. That was the capital that he had saved up after toiling for his entire life. Mu Xiangtian had actually jokingly used it as a wager. What an unfilial disciple. However, Mu Chuanfeng was not worried. As Mu Xiangtian had said, looking at Qin Hao's appearance, it was obvious that he did not know how to refine pills. If he forced him to refine pills, the furnace might explode, so he would definitely not agree. Chapter 653. Being stared at by Qin Hao, Mu Xiangtian felt an inexplicable chill run down his spine. However, words spoken were like spilled water. There was no way to take them back. Otherwise, he would be mocked by the crowd. Moreover, it was in front of Xing. Mu Xiangtian would not allow himself to be timid. He gathered his courage and nodded. Everyone knows my character. I will never go back on my words. If you can successfully refine a pill, even if it is a 1st-grade pill, I will pay you 100,000 earth crystals. Of course, at the very least, you have to concoct a top-grade 1st-grade pill. Mu Xiangtian could not help but feel a little scared. Therefore, he slightly increased the difficulty. In his opinion, this was not difficult at all. However, Mu Xiangtian believed that a 1st-grade pill would be an insurmountable gap for Qin Hao. All right, Qin Hao smiled. He did not expect Mu Xiangtian's style of seeking death to be so unique. He actually spent a high price of 100,000 earth crystals to buy a 1st-grade pill of the highest grade. How could he not accept money given by an idiot? Moreover, this money was Mu Chuanfeng's coffin capital. At this moment, Qin Hao agreed. He walked to the front of the pill table and slowly scanned the various herbs. Then he nodded. He had an idea to refine a special pill, based on Huang Tianba and the rest performance. If he did not refine a very special pill, it would be impossible for him to win with an overwhelming advantage. After all, Huang Tianba and the rest did have some skills. Of course, there were only two of them. I said that I would let your name, Dan Xian, spread throughout Western Liang and even the entire Divine Wilderness continent. You would be respected and praised by everyone. Then let's start now. Silently reciting Dan Xian's name in his heart, Qin Hao hugged the small pill furnace. His movements were very unfamiliar. He reached out his hand and picked up one herb after another from the pill table. Then he sniffed under his nose to determine the age of the herb and the amount of water it contained. Only then could he consider how much of the red lotus fire he could use. Then, Qin Hao gently placed the herbs into the small pill furnace. The entire process was very ordinary. It was not as flashy as Huang Tianba and Mu Xiangtian. Does this kid know how to refine pills? Smelling herbs? Could it be that there's poison in the herbs? Ah, what a joke. I don't think he can even refine a first-grade Dan. Someone in the audience pointed at Qin Hao and laughed. At the same time, Huang Tianba and the others who were refining pills revealed mocking faces one after another. However, when Mu Chunfeng and the other four Dangu elders saw this scene, their hearts skipped a beat. Clearly, Qin Hao knew alchemy. Furthermore, the seemingly ordinary method of putting the herbs into the pill furnace was actually very particular and profound. For example, the Zhan Yeqing that contained the most water, Qin Hao threw it into the furnace first. Furthermore, he did it with the bottom facing up and the head facing down. This was because the head of the Zhan Yeqing contained more water. Then, he threw the other withered herbs into the pill furnace one by one. In this way, after activating the primordial fire, it would first evaporate the excessive water content of the dark leaf green. Then, it would allow all the medicinal herbs to achieve harmony and simultaneously activate their medicinal properties. Qin Hao's subtle movements seemed ordinary, but they were actually very sophisticated. Without decades of experience in medicine, ordinary people would not be able to understand them at all. *T, this kid knows alchemy. Mu Chunfeng could not help but clench his fists tightly in his sleeves. He secretly cursed Mu Xiangtian for being too stupid. He had bragged that he wanted to buy Qin Hao's first-grade Dan for 100,000 earth crystals without even knowing his opponent. If this kid really succeeds in refining the pill. No, definitely not. Mu Chunfeng secretly decided that he could not let Qin Hao succeed in refining the pill. Not to mention that he did not have 100,000 earth crystals at all. Even if he had saved them for his entire life, he would only have 90,000 earth crystals. Most of these 90,000 earth crystals were obtained through improper means. Once his reputation was exposed and Danji's higher-ups investigated him, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ha ha ha, this kid, is he joking? After throwing the herbs once, he actually threw in a second time. What an idiot. He's the most idiot I've ever met in my life. Just as Mu Chunfeng made up his mind to ruin Qin Hao's alchemy, a burst of laughter erupted from the genius platform. After Qin Hao had placed the herbs in the furnace, he gathered the red lotus fire in his right hand and started to refine the herbs at the bottom of the furnace. In just a moment, he actually placed the same herbs into the furnace a second time from Dan Ge. Huang Tianba and the rest laughed maniacally at his strange behavior. However, when the elders of Dangu saw this strange behavior, especially Mu Chunfeng, they were extremely shocked. The third time, this kid has thrown in the same herbs 3 times in a row. Could it be that he's going to *T? Mu Chunfeng didn't have time to think. He secretly put his hand under the table and frowned. He released a wisp of primal fire from his fingertip. With a whoosh, he flicked the wisp of primal fire from the inconspicuous ground toward the genius stage. Its target was Qin Hao's cauldron. Outsiders might not understand what Qin Hao was trying to do. However, Mu Chunfeng and the other four elders knew. If he guessed correctly, Qin Hao wanted to refine a third revolution pill, or even a third revolution pill. That was why he had placed the same herbs into the furnace 3 times in a row. Because the herbs provided in the competition had low medicinal properties and could not be compared to herbs above Saint grade, they needed the same herbs to increase their medicinal properties. If it was herbs above Saint grade, there would be no need to put in so many times. This seemingly clumsy method was only understood by the older generation of alchemists. It was already outdated. Although it was outdated, it was very practical and the most direct method. If Qin Hao did not know alchemy, he would be an idiot. Unfortunately, judging from Qin Hao's actions and calm demeanor, he was obviously an experienced alchemist. Whoosh! The wisp of primordial qi came too suddenly. Everyone was focused on the competition and refining pills. No one expected that someone would secretly attack a contestant, especially on the Genius platform. Therefore, everyone was careless at this moment, including Qin Hao. No one expected that someone would attack such a sacred and grand competition. In the end, the wisp of primordial qi accurately entered Qin Hao's primordial fire and immediately destroyed the stability of the Red Lotus fire, causing the power of the Red Lotus fire to become violent. Boom! A huge fire suddenly rose from Qin Hao's palm. It reached an unparalleled height and filled the alchemy furnace in an instant, causing the pressure inside the alchemy furnace to skyrocket. The result was obvious. There was only one outcome. The furnace exploded. Oh no! Qin Hao could not handle it. In the current situation, he could only disperse the primordial fire and use his primordial qi to protect the medicinal qi after the furnace exploded. Then, he had to quickly find another furnace and throw it in to protect the pills. Otherwise, all his efforts would be for naught, and all his hard work would be in vain. However, even if he could protect the medicinal qi, he did not have time to find another furnace unless he took out the Dan Xian's bronze cauldron. If that was the case, Mu Chunfeng would definitely recognize it. In the end, Qin Hao had lost the chance to protect the pills. Boom! As expected, the small pill furnace exploded. This unexpected scene stunned everyone present. Countless spectators stared with wide eyes and stood up from their seats. The shockwaves from the explosion of the Genius platform even swept toward Huang Tianba and the others' cauldrons. They screamed in fear and tried their best to condense their Saint Qi to protect their precious cauldrons. However, Qin Hao's pills buzz. In the midst of the shock, another bizarre scene happened in the Genius platform. The spatial ring on Qin Hao's finger flashed, and the divine Great Void Cauldron appeared as if it had a mind of its own. Just as the medicinal qi spread out, it formed an irresistible suction force. Like a python swallowing fog, it sucked all the medicinal qi into the divine cauldron and perfectly protected the pills that Qin Hao had refined. Chapter 654. When the divine cauldron merged with the 1,000-year void spirit stone, it had the ability to transform into a space ring. Now, after leaving behind the shell of the void spirit stone, it returned to the divine artifact perfectly. It was an unexpected surprise. Qin Hao checked the space ring on his finger and found that the space inside was the same as before. Your reaction is not bad. You managed to protect the elixir qi in time. Humph! Mu Chunfeng snorted coldly. His face was extremely gloomy. He had failed in front of Qin Hao. The audience also broke out in cold sweat for Qin Hao. It was really a close call just now. Fortunately, Qin Hao took out a small elixir cauldron and absorbed the elixir qi essence in time. However, they felt that Qin Hao's new elixir cauldron was a little strange. It looked ordinary and was as small as an incense burner. However, when the audience looked at the Great Void Cauldron, they felt as if there was a heavy mountain pressing down on their hearts. It was breathtaking. After looking at it, the audience looked away. Who is secretly sneaking around? Doing some shady business? So lawless. You don't even have Dangu in your eyes. 2 elders at the judges' table shouted angrily. As they had been focusing on the contestant refining the elixir, They had been careless and did not see who had done it. Ahem. Mu Chunfeng coughed pretentiously. His face was tense as he looked at the audience sharply. I hope that some people who are worse than pigs and dogs will give old man some peace. You are lucky that you were not caught this time. If there is a second time, in other words, if there was a second time, there will be no mercy. Maybe it's Jinfeng. Brother Chunfeng, you don't have to be so serious. After all, the junior who exploded the cauldron may have placed the herbs carelessly. Beside Mu Chunfeng, an old man with a square face laughed sinisterly. Others had not seen it clearly, but he had felt it. The primordial fire that attacked Qin Hao had come from beside him. Without a doubt, it was obvious who was behind it. However, it was obvious that Elder Fong would not say anything. After all, his relationship with Mu Chunfeng was not shallow. They had been wearing the same pants since a long time ago. In fact, many of Mu Chunfeng's black debts were handled by him. It doesn't matter if it's the wind or man-made. As the chief examiner, I have to uphold justice for every contestant. This must not happen a second time. Otherwise, it would be a slap to my face. Mu Chunfeng spoke with righteous indignation, appearing extremely righteous. His words immediately drew everyone's praise. They all praised Elder Mu as Danji's virtuous benevolent person. Contestants, please continue. This matter is over. Square Elder waved his hand and let the contestants continue with the competition. He didn't pursue the matter. Qin Hao smiled coldly on the stage. Although he did not see who had attacked, judging from the trajectory of the primordial fire, it was most likely Mu Chunfeng himself. You're jealous of my ability and want to set me up? All right, I'll seriously play with you. Originally, Qin Hao only wanted to refine a third revolution sacred pill. At this moment, he gave up on this idea. Immediately, he attacked again. He grabbed the same medicinal materials from the elixir table 5 times and threw them into the great void furnace. He wanted to refine a 9th revolution peerless great elixir to slap Mu Chunfeng's face. Old dog Mu, you don't want to see me win? Are you afraid of losing your coffin money? I must win. I will crush you all the way until you lose all your face. When Qin Hao attacked again, his style suddenly changed. He no longer looked ordinary. The soul fire around him burned brightly. He attacked as fast as the wind. His powerful rank 15 mind strength was released majestically. With the support of his powerful mind strength, the red lotus soul fire changed patterns with a shocking degree of precision. Alchemy furnace. Sometimes, the flames gathered into a fire beast. The fire beast spat out fire tongues. Sometimes, it turned into clusters of sparks. It was like a furnace with thousands of flowers. In short, the alchemy techniques that had never been seen before dazzled the audience. The more they watched, the more they couldn't help but exclaim, "Damn, this guy's on steroids. How can he control it so exquisitely? Could it be that he was pretending to be weak?" Looking at Qin Hao, who seemed to have changed into a different person, Huang Tianba and the rest finally understood what fire control was and what technique was. Cold sweat rolled down their cheeks. As the alchemy aroma in Qin Hao's furnace became stronger and stronger, it finally covered all of their alchemy aroma. Everyone was under extreme pressure. You want to refine it again? I won't let you refine it. If I can destroy your furnace once, I can do it again. Mu Chunfeng stretched his hand under the table again. His eyes were fierce. He used the same technique to gather the primordial fire. With a whoosh, he shot it toward the genius platform. His target was still Qin Hao's furnace. However, this time, Qin Hao was prepared. Suddenly, there was a whooshing sound. The great void cauldron in Qin Hao's hand shook violently. The small cauldron started to spin quickly. Not to mention that Qin Hao's primordial qi was stronger than Mu Chunfeng's. With the material of the great void cauldron, it was not something that Mu Chunfeng could detonate. Ding! In the end, when the primordial fire shot toward Mu Xiangtian's Tai Chi 8 trigrams furnace, it was deflected by the great void cauldron. After being deflected by the great void cauldron, the primordial fire's power and penetrating power became stronger. F*CK. Mu Xiangtian was at the critical moment when he was about to refine his elixir. He could not help but curse when he was suddenly attacked. Unfortunately, with his mortal sage realm strength, he could not protect his furnace. Moreover, Mu Xiangtian had used up too much of his primordial fire. At this moment, he was as tired as a dog. How could he protect his furnace? In the blink of an eye, the primordial fire penetrated the electric net formed by the lightning runes and entered the Tai Chi 8 trigrams furnace. Bang! There was an explosion in midair, and black smoke burst out. With one strike, the electric net no longer existed. Mu Xiangtian transformed into a 10-meter-tall Tai Chi furnace and immediately returned to his original appearance. He fell into Xiao Qin's arms from midair in a tattered state. Although the furnace was damaged, it did not completely explode. At the critical moment, the grade 6 lightning runes protected Mu Xiangtian's elixir. However, it was a pity that the lightning runes amplification had failed. Moreover, it had failed at the most critical moment. The impact on the elixir was very serious. Aleph *CK, his old ancestor. Which dog created this because he was jealous of my, Mu Xiangtian's, ability? Why'd he do this? Looking at the Tai Chi furnace in his arms that was full of holes and black smoke was still coming out of the holes, Mu Xiangtian wanted to cry, but had no tears. When he finished cursing, Mu Chanfeng, who was at the judge's stand, instantly turned black. *CK. I went for wool and came home shorn. Mu Chanfeng clenched his fists tightly. His face was twitching violently and his palms were about to bleed. The 9th transformation, 9 dragons fire tempering art, elixir complete. At the same time, Qin Hao's sacred voice was heard from the genius platform. After putting the herbs into the furnace for the 9th time, he activated the spirit fire in his palms and slammed it on the great void cauldron. Whoosh! Chapter 655. Plop! Huang Tianba fell from the high platform and smashed the stone slabs on the ground, making a heavy sound. Who the hell hit me? At this moment, Huang Tianba covered his sausage mouth and was stunned. He was knocked off the stage in a daze, as if he was sleepwalking. The audience outside the arena was also puzzled. What was going on? Could it be that Qin Hao's furnace exploded when he was refining pills again? Is that why there is so much smoke? It must be. I just saw him inject the primordial fire into the furnace recklessly. It would be strange if it didn't explode. It doesn't matter if he explodes alone, but all the genius contestants are in trouble. The audience said anxiously. Today was really a good day. They didn't know what serious impact the explosion of Qin Hao's furnace would have on the others. Damn it, my primordial clear dragon pill. Huang Tianba finally came to his senses. He flew onto the stage desperately, and then he slapped wildly to disperse the white smoke on the stage. Suddenly, the scene inside was revealed. Yi Ziming's white clothes were tattered, and strips of cloth were hanging on his body. He looked like a beggar, and his face was full of blood. Obviously, he had been attacked inexplicably. However, he stood on the stage in a daze, as if he didn't know what had happened. Ren Xiaoyao's pants were gone, and he stood naked on the stage. He was exposed under the eyes of thousands of people. He was also at a loss. When he heard the loud laughter outside the arena, he suddenly felt his body turn cold, and then he looked down. In short, the scene was too beautiful. Oh, my furnace exploded. My 8-patterned thunder pill, which wild dog plotted against me. Mu Xiangtian cried and hugged the Tai Chi furnace tightly. He was so distressed that he wanted to commit suicide. Who knocked me off the stage just now? Yi Ziming, was it you? I knew you didn't like me, so you shamelessly sneaked up on me. As soon as Huang Tianba got on the stage, he immediately grabbed Yi Ziming's collar and bared his teeth. He was about to explode. I want to ask who hit my face. My face is covered in blood. Let go of me. Yi Ziming was not to be outdone. He also grabbed Huang Tianba's clothes. My pants. Who stole my pants? Ren Xiaoyao covered his vital parts with his hands and looked for his pants like crazy. The high platform fell into chaos. Everyone made a fool of themselves. This was a scene rarely seen in 100 years. Perhaps today's scene would soon spread throughout the Luo Shui imperial capital and even the entire Luo Shui empire. How dare you? Quiet down. Mu Chunfeng let out a thunderous roar and slammed his palm heavily on the referee's table. With a loud bang, he immediately suppressed the commotion. When the square-faced elder next to him saw this, he quickly took off his coat and threw it to Run Xiaoyao on the stage. Lestrin Xiaoyao wanted to kill himself on the field. Old man is pissing me off. This is simply pissing me off. You are the geniuses of the 4 academies. How can you make such a scene? Mu Chuanfeng's chest heaved with anger. He really did not expect that a wisp of his primordial fire would create such a grand scene. It was too late for regrets. This time, we must find the murderer, an elder said angrily. The murderer had attacked twice in a row. After Mu Chuanfeng's warning, he still dared to attack. It was obviously a slap in Elder Mu's face. I don't think there's a need to look. The person who sent Huang Tianba flying tore Yi Ziming's face and stole Ren Xiaoyao's pants is Qin Hao on the stage. He's the only one who is not injured. Elder Square pointed at Qin Hao and said, "Are you an idiot? Didn't you see that someone else attacked me with primordial fire first? Then, for some reason, that wisp of primordial fire hit Mu Xiantian's furnace. I'm also a victim." What Qin Hao said was the truth. Everyone in the audience could attest to it. Immediately, Qin Hao's words shut Elder Square's mouth. Forget it. Anyway, no one's furnace suffered any damage. Moreover, they have finished refining pills. The competition will continue. Next, open your furnaces and verify the quality of the pills. The real murderer was Mu Chunfeng himself. Of course, he would not pursue the matter. Moreover, Huang Tianba's furnaces on the stage were indeed intact. It was just that they had been beaten inexplicably. They could only count themselves as unlucky. No, Godfather. The others didn't suffer any losses, but I did. After the competition, you must investigate and find the culprit. Cut him into 1,000 pieces and feed him to the dogs. F*CK, his ancestors. Mu Xiangtian roared with hatred. The moment when the Tai Chi furnace's electric net exploded, it might have affected him greatly. It might even reduce the attributes of the pills. Even so, Mu Xiangtian firmly believed that his pills would not be worse than Huang Tianba's. It was just a pity. He wanted to refine a top-grade pill. All right, Godfather promises you. After the competition, I will find the murderer. Mu Chunfeng pretended to nod and then waved his hand. Someone, bring out the pill plate for testing the quality of the pills. Yes, Elder Mu. A member of Dangu took out the pill plate and walked respectfully to the genius stage. The pill plate was actually similar to a dish plate. However, it was white and flawless. There were strange patterns carved on it. As long as the pills were placed on the plate could test the grade and quality of the pills. After all, the contestants on the genius stage were about the same level as Mu Chunfeng and the rest. They could see through the pills refined by the contestants on the ordinary stage. However, it was fairer and more authoritative to use a device to measure the pills refined by the geniuses. After all, the pill plate was created by the owner of Dangu. Pill plate. Looking at the familiar plate, Qin Hao was excited. 600 years had passed, and the pill plate that he had created back then was still being used by his descendants. While he was excited, Qin Hao could not help but feel a little confused. The method of creating the pill plate was only known by the people he was most familiar with. To be precise, only one of the 4 warlords of Daqin, Xinu, knew about it. Xinu had inherited Qin Hao's alchemy skills. Now, the pill plate had appeared in Dangu. Looking at the attitude of the members of Dangu, it seemed like they worshipped the pill plate. Qin Hao was sure that the pill plate was created by someone important in Dangu through the methods of Qin Hao's previous life. What was the relationship between this person and Xinu? There was no time to think about it. The member of Dangu who was holding the pill plate had already walked up to the stage and started the test. Humph! I don't know which scoundrel scratched my handsome face. I will take revenge sooner or later. Now let's test my pill. Yi Ziming glared at Huang Tianba angrily. He was sure that the person who had scratched his face was Huang Tianba. Since he was going to take revenge, this was the best time. Yi Ziming was ready to slap Huang Tianba in the face in terms of the grade of his pill. He wanted to let him know who the real number one alchemist was. "Alchemist Yi, please place your pill on the pill plate." The member of Dan Ge was very humble. He held the plate with both hands and bowed in front of Yi Ziming. The audience's attention was instantly drawn over. Everyone was excited. Chapter 656. Yi Ziming exhaled the turbid qi in his abdomen and slowly loosened his tightly clenched right hand. Immediately, a red pill landed in his palm and fell into the alchemy plate. The alchemy plate immediately reacted. Under the push of an inexplicable force, multicolored lights rose from the red pill and floated above the alchemy plate. There were 6 multicolored lights, indicating that this was a rank 6 medicinal pill. Judging from its color, it was a medial rank 6 medicinal pill. This medicinal pill is called the 3 Essence, 9 Orifices Essence Increasing Pill. After taking it, it can immediately increase one's essence, filling one's 3 spiritual, 7 physical, and 9 orifices with essence, stimulating one's nerves. The essence it replenishes is 10 times that of the Great Primal Pill. Then, due to the sudden stimulation, one will become extremely excited. When one becomes excited, one's combat prowess will increase slightly. Yi Ziming lived up to his reputation as the top alchemist of the Star Moon Inner Yard. He proudly explained the effects of this medicinal pill. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he immediately caused a frenzy in the arena. The essence-increasing pill replenished 10 times more essence than the Great Primal Pill. After taking it, one's combat prowess would increase. It was simply incredible. I am willing to pay 10,000 earth crystals for this medicinal pill. I am willing to pay 15,000. Whoever fights with me, I will beat him to death. I will pay 20,000. Money was the best way to reflect the value of a medicinal pill. The bidding continued. Mu Chunfeng and a few other elders, including Dan Ge, nodded at the judge's stand. To be honest, Yi Ziming was indeed extraordinary. When Ren Xiaoyao saw the situation, he knew that he had already lost. Yi Ziming had a strange flame and the core forging gloves. Ren Xiaoyao admitted defeat. However, since Ren Xiaoyao came, he had to test his medicinal pill. Furthermore, this time, he did not have high requirements. He only wanted to break through to rank 6 alchemist. Then he opened his Dragon Phoenix furnace and took out a grayish-white medicinal pill. Then he tossed it into the alchemy plate. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Grayish-white clouds emerged from the alchemy plate again. 4 clouds appeared in succession, appearing very quickly. However, after the 4th cloud, the speed slowed. After a long time, the 5th cloud appeared. After the 5th flower, the elixir plate no longer reacted, indicating that Ren Xiaoyao's elixir was a 5th-grade elixir. He still couldn't cross the gap of a 6th-grade alchemist. I failed again. I really can't accept this. Ren Xiaoyao clenched his fists tightly and hated his incompetence. A grade 5 pill is clearly not as good as Yi Ziming's. Next, Mu Chunfeng and the other 4 elders looked at each other. Ren Xiaoyao's performance was not very satisfactory, and they were too lazy to ask him to explain what kind of pill he had refined. Ren Xiaoyao, you refined a 5th-grade pill and failed once again. Congratulations, you've become my stepping stone. Now, you'll witness the miracle of my pills. And you, Yi Ziming, hurry up and cover your eyes so you don't get blinded. Huang Tianba was full of confidence. He raised his head and opened his pitch-black furnace. When the furnace was opened, boundless golden light burst out, illuminating the entire arena. At this moment, Yi Ziming had no choice but to cover his eyes. He was almost blinded. Then, Huang Tianba took out a golden elixir from the furnace and placed it in the elixir plate. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A series of golden clouds rose. There were 6 of them, which proved that the elixir was also a 6th-grade elixir. It was no worse than Yi Ziming's. Judging from the color, the elixir refined by Huang Tianba was an upper-grade elixir. It was completely better than Yi Ziming's. Not only is the quality better than his, but the effect is also better. My primordial clear dragon elixir has the effect of increasing one's realm. It can temporarily raise one's realm within the Heaven Sage level. For example, a 5-star Heaven Sage can be raised to a 6-star Heaven Sage for 15 minutes. In addition, this elixir is a special elixir recipe of the Huang family. It contains the green dragon qi. The green dragon qi can greatly strengthen the primordial qi of a yuan cultivator. What do you think? Yi Ziming, are you convinced? Huang Tianba pointed at Yi Ziming's nose arrogantly. It was just an elixir that could replenish one's primordial qi. Even if it could slightly increase one's combat strength, it could not be compared to an elixir that could increase one's realm. Moreover, Yi Ziming's 3 yuan 9 aperture pill only made people excited. They felt that they were very strong after eating the pill, but it was actually an illusion. How is this possible? How is this possible? I am stronger than you, and I have the mysterious yellow flame. Even so, I can only refine a middle-grade 6th-grade elixir. However, you have refined a high-grade 6th-grade elixir. I don't believe it. You must have cheated. I suspect that he cheated. Yi Ziming could not take the blow. In terms of realm, he was 1 level higher than Huang Tianba. In terms of fire control, he was not worse than Huang Tianba. Although Huang Tianba's primordial spirit was a long saber with strong attack power, he cannot be compared to Yi Ziming, who had the mysterious yellow flame in terms of alchemy. Nephew Huang, you really need to give us a reasonable explanation. At this moment, Mu Chunfeng spoke in a serious tone. There were many signs that Yi Ziming's alchemy skills should be above Huang Tianba's. However, in the end, the result of the elixir refinement was reversed. The loser was Yi Ziming. At this moment, Qin Hao's gaze was fixed on Huang Tianba's space ring. Judging by his usual alchemy skills, Yi Ziming should not have lost. However, Qin Hao had seen Huang Tianba take out a bottle from his space ring. Then, he quickly poured a drop of liquid from the bottle into the furnace of good fortune. It must have been that drop of liquid that changed the quality of the elixir. Since Uncle Mu asked, I will make Yi Ziming accept his defeat wholeheartedly. As expected, Huang Tianba took out a bottle from his space ring in the next second. Then, he raised the bottle and said, I believe everyone has heard of the ultra-holy water. After saying that, Huang Tianba smiled. The ultra-holy water was a kind of medicine. It was similar to the 6 good liquid that Qin Hao had developed. It could be soaked in by elementalists. It did not have much effect in a short period of time. However, if one soaked in it for a long time, it could change the physique of an elementalist. The ultra-holy water was a medicine that could change the physique of a saint. The method of refining the medicine was very difficult, and the herbs were very expensive. Oh my God, Huang Tianba actually has the ultra-holy water. Isn't the prescription of the ultra-holy water lost? Could it be that this is the treasure of Huang Yaoshi's family? Everyone in the audience was very surprised. At this moment, it was clear at a glance as to why Yi Ziming lost. That's right. The ultra-holy water is the prescription of our family. Apart from the black wind furnace of good fortune. In fact, this medicine can be called a secret prescription of our family. The bottle of ultra-holy water in my hand was personally refined by my father. It has the effect of improving the quality of the elixir. Just now, when I was refining the elixir, I added a drop of it. Huang Tianba smiled proudly. His eyes were full of respect for the ultra-holy water that had been passed down in his family. It's actually so hateful. Like Ren Xiaoyao, Yi Ziming fiercely clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He was very unwilling to accept this. However, he understood that this was not considered cheating. Just like Mu Xiangtian's lightning rune, the ultra-holy water only had the effect of enhancing it. The person who had really refined the clear dragon elixir was Huang Tianba himself. Yi Ziming did not lose unjustly. In fact, he lost to Huang Tianba's father, Huang Yaoshi. Mu Chunfeng smiled coldly. Compared to him, Huang Yaoshi had also put in a lot of effort to help his son win the competition. Brother Tianba, it's too early for you to be proud. Although we have a good relationship in private, it's a pity. But unfortunately, perhaps you will become my stepping stone today. Suddenly, Mu Xiangtian's voice sounded. Mu Xiangtian was no longer crying over the furnace that had exploded. It was as if he had changed into a different person, and he was excited. Brother Xiangtian, you are very confident in yourself, Huang Tianba said coldly. Did Mu Xiangtian mean that his elixir was better than his? Huang Tianba did not believe this. Even if Mu Xiangtian had obtained the Tai Chi 8 trigrams purple gold furnace from Mu Chunfeng and had the enhancement of the lightning rune, he was only a mortal sage. How could a rank for alchemist be better than a rank 6 Huang Tianba? I will show you my confidence right now. And you, Mu Xiangtian pointed at Qin Hao and said, I will show you too. However, before I open the furnace, I want to make a bet with you. As he had witnessed Qin Hao refining the elixir with his own eyes, Mu Xiangtian had completely given up. He was afraid that Qin Hao had really refined an extraordinary elixir. This extraordinary elixir would definitely surpass a rank 1 elixir. In that case, Mu Xiangtian would lose 100,000 earth crystals. He would be beaten to death by Mu Chunfeng later. Therefore, he was prepared to make a bet with Qin Hao. He had to earn back the 100,000 earth crystals that he had lost. What are we betting on? Qin Hao asked indifferently. No matter what the bet was, he would not be fearless because Mu Xiangtian was bound to lose. Let's bet on which of us can refine the higher quality and grade of the elixir. If you lose, you will give me your maid, Xing. You will let her wash my clothes, cook my meals, warm my bed sheets, and be my slave. No matter how I treat her, it will have nothing to do with you. Qin Hao, do you dare? Mu Xiangtian shouted and raised his nose. At the same time, he looked at Xing below the stage. His eyes were filled with greed and thirst. Wow, the crowd was in an uproar again. Many of the people present actually knew a little about Xing. She was the distant niece of Hai Laosi of the Hai family trading company. She was the young mistress of the trading company and had an extremely noble status. They did not expect her to be Qin Hao's maid. It was already shocking to think about it. However, what was even more shocking was that Mu Xiangtian wanted to bet with Qin Hao on Xing. If he lost, Xing would become his slave. It was indeed exciting to make the young mistress of the Hai family trading company a slave. At this moment, Huang Tianba, Yi Ziming, and Ren Xiaoyao were all looking at Mu Xiangtian with envy, as if he was bound to win. Xing, are you afraid? Qin Hao simply glanced at the girl in the white phoenix dress in the crowd below the stage. I'm willing to bet for you. There was no trace of fear in Xing's eyes. They were even full of warmth. It was Qin Hao who took off her dust and let her reveal her peerless beauty. If it were not for Qin Hao, who would care about that wild girl on the side of the road? Perhaps Xing would have starved to death long ago. In fact, she only wanted to say one thing to Qin Hao. I'm willing to do anything for you. You're my whole world. Bitch, Mu Xiangtian cursed angrily. He could not bear to see Xing treat Qin Hao so well and be so docile. Just wait and see. Once Qin Hao recklessly agreed, he would definitely let her enjoy herself tonight. Mu Xiangtian could not wait to imagine a scene that was not suitable for children. Okay, I'll bet with you. Qin Hao agreed, which immediately made Mu Xiangtian overjoyed. He could not help but want to howl. At the same time, it also made Mu Chunfeng, who was in the referee's seat, very satisfied. It seemed that his adopted son was not stupid. Once he had Xing, Hai Laosi would be obedient. He would do whatever he was told to do. It was simply in line with Mu Chunfeng's wishes. Unfortunately, the person who Hai Laosi really listened to was Qin Hao. Without Qin Hao, Xing would not have been able to achieve her current status in the Hai family trading company. But all this was beyond Chunfeng's expectations. I agree to bet with you, but I have to make one thing clear. In the eyes of Qin Hao, Xing is not an object that can be pawned at will and at any price. She will never have a price in my heart, Qin Hao. But since you dare to bet with me, I'll bet with you with my life. If you lose, I want your Mu Xiangtian. Fate. Qin Hao flicked his sleeve and pointed at Mu Xiangtian's face, responding with domineering words. Originally, he did not think much of this person and only wanted to kill his father, Mu Chunfeng. Chapter 657. Bet Your Life. Hearing these two words, Mu Xiangtian's heart fiercely trembled, and his expression changed greatly. That's right. Do you dare to bet your life? Qin Hao pointed at Mu Xiangtian with contempt in his eyes. Obviously, Mu Xiangtian was only lusting after Xing Er's beauty. However, in the face of death, his hesitation was enough to prove that he was not sincere. Suddenly, there was an uproar in the arena. Mu Xiangtian wanted to bet his life with Qin Hao. However, Qin Hao wanted to bet his life with Mu Xiangtian. He wanted Mu Xiangtian's son's life in front of Elder Mu. Clearly, he did not take Mu Chunfeng seriously and was openly provoking him. Although it seemed unlikely that Qin Hao would win, it was better to be safe than sorry. Xiangtian, accept his challenge. Mu Chunfeng said without hesitation. His tone was as though he was giving an order and could not be disobeyed. Okay, I accept your challenge. Mu Xiangtian gritted his teeth and nodded. He was very unhappy, but he did not dare to disobey Mu Chunfeng's order. In the face of absolute benefits, there was no father-son relationship between them. Speaking of which, Mu Xiangtian had no reason to lose. Victory was something he had to win. Thus, he took 2 deep breaths to regain his composure. A cold smile appeared on his lips. Next, I will let everyone witness how Qin Hao will lose his daughter to me, Mu Xiangtian. As he spoke, he was ready to open the Tai Chi furnace. Wait, Huang Tianba said, and stepped forward to stop him. He smiled and said, I also want to participate in your bet. I bet that Brother Xiangtian will win. If he wins, I want Qin Hao's furnace. He pointed at Qin Hao's great void cauldron with a cunning look on his face. Coming from an alchemist family, Huang Tianba instinctively felt that Qin Hao's furnace was not ordinary. Although the furnace did not look outstanding, it gave people a sense of oppression. Sure, if I win, I want the black wind furnace that has been passed down for generations in the Huang family. Qin Hao snorted in his heart. You want to take my furnace? Then I will make you lose your family heirloom. I also bet that Mu Xiangtian will win. If he wins, I don't want anything. I just want Qin Hao to kneel in front of me and crawl through my pants. Ren Xiaoyao said angrily. Today, he was the person who had lost the most face. Not only did he lose to Huang Tianba, but he also failed to advance to become an alchemist. He might as well start with Qin Hao, the #1 person in the inner yard of Qiyang. But if I win, I will destroy your Dantian. Qin Hao looked at Ren Xiaoyao coldly. If you want to step on my head, I'll cripple you. Since that's the case, I, Yi Ziming, will also join in the fun. I don't have any requests. If Mu Xiangtian wins, I'm willing to spend 50,000 earth crystal stones to buy the pills refined by Mu Xiangtian. Haha, sure. Someone was helping Mu Xiangtian strengthen his reputation. Of course, he was happy. Moreover, 50,000 was not a small amount. Mu Xiangtian nodded immediately. Thank you, Brother Xiangtian. Of course, Qin Hao has to pay for the pill. Ha ha ha. Yi Ziming looked at Qin Hao with a fake smile. His eyes were cold. He made a bet with Mu Xiangtian, but Qin Hao had to pay for it. Yi Ziming was much smarter than Huang Tianba and the others. You are ruthless, but you are not qualified to play tricks in front of me, Qin Hao. I agree to bet with you, but if you lose, I want you to compensate me with 200,000 earth crystals. Qin Hao said in a deep voice. After coming to Dan Ji's headquarters, he was forced by these bullshit geniuses everywhere. If he did not show them his power, they would think he was easy to bully. 200,000? Yi Ziming was shocked. Even if he sold himself, he would not be able to get 200,000 earth crystals. Even if he sold his whole family, he would still not be able to get Qin Hao's bet. Okay, I agree. Since he had said it, Yi Ziming had no room to back down. Otherwise, he would be laughed at by Huang Tianba and the others. He could only bite the bullet. Now, he could only pray that Mu Xiangtian would win. The chief examiner was Mu Xiangtian's father. As for the pill pavilion, it was not an exaggeration to say that it was Mu Xiangtian's home. In Mu Xiangtian's territory, even the chief examiner was his father. How could he lose? Huang Tianba and the others also thought so. That was why they dared to bet their family heirlooms. Among them, Ren Xiaoyao's bet was the most ridiculous. If he won, Qin Hao would be able to get into his pants. But if he lost, he would be reduced from a genius to a cripple. In any case, this bet was earth-shattering. It also raised the heated atmosphere in the arena. "Young master, you must win." Xing seemed very nervous. She was not nervous for herself, but for Qin Hao. If Qin Hao lost, he would lose everything. Not only would he lose Xing, but he would also lose his dignity as a human being. "Next, young Master Xiang, please open the furnace and put the elixir in the pill plate." On the high platform, the member of Dangu said respectfully. His face was full of excitement, and he could not wait to witness the final result of this bet. "Okay." Mu Xiangtian nodded and carefully placed the Tai Chi furnace, which had countless holes in his arms, on the pill table. Then he gathered enough primordial chi in his palms and slammed it down hard. As everyone screamed in surprise, the Tai Chi furnace was smashed into pieces. But after it was shattered, there was a small golden pill furnace inside. The small pill furnace was the size of an adult's fist. It was engraved with strange patterns, and there was also a Tai Chi halo flowing on it. After the electric net exploded in the air, it only cracked the outer skin of the Tai Chi furnace. Unexpectedly, there were two furnaces inside. This was an extremely rare double furnace. This was simply beyond everyone's expectations. Oh my God, two furnaces coexist. The Tai Chi furnace turns out to be a double furnace. According to this, the flawed electric net did not have the slightest effect on Mu Xiangtian's elixir. Today is really an eye-opener. The audience could not help but gasp in amazement. They were deeply worried for Qin Hao. If they still had a glimmer of hope that Qin Hao would win by luck before, then from this moment on, their hope was completely shattered. After all, Mu Xiangtian's elixir was actually not affected at all. Qin Hao, on the other hand, put the soul fire into his own furnace. "Ha, I don't think I need to see the result. I will win this game." Huang Tianba laughed immediately. "Congratulations, Brother Huang. You have won a good furnace." "You're welcome. I also congratulate you for winning Brother Mu's elixir." "You should congratulate me, because Qin Hao's going to get into my pants." On the stage, Yi Ziming and Ren Xiaoyao were confident, and they also flattered each other in collusion. "Although I will win, the elixir still needs to be tested. Because from this moment on, I, Xiangtian, will be the only person in Western Liang to be promoted to a 6th-grade alchemist with the strength of a mortal sage. This is a great miracle and the glory of my life. Of course, except for me, there is no second one in the world," Mu Xiangtian said with incomparable confidence. Between the words, he took out a platinum elixir from the intact, small Tai Chi furnace. When this platinum elixir appeared, it immediately caused a sensation in the entire arena. As everyone knew, platinum represented the best quality elixir. In terms of quality, Mu Xiangtian was the one who refined the highest quality elixir among all the contestants. Mu Chunfeng, who was in the referee's seat, suddenly burst into laughter. This battle was as expected. It seemed that Mu Xiangtian would win. After all, before the competition, he had secretly supervised Mu Xiangtian's practice several times. Then, when this platinum elixir was put into the elixir plate by Mu Xiangtian, buzz, 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 a series of platinum clouds rose, a total of 6. Immediately, the entire arena was in an uproar. A 6th-grade elixir. This elixir was stronger than Huang Tianba's upper-grade elixir and Yi Ziming's middle-grade elixir. As for Ren Xiaoyao, he was already embarrassed to be standing in the genius arena. After all, Mu Xiangtian was only a mortal sage. A mere 4th-grade alchemist had refined a 6th-grade elixir. As a heavenly saint, Ren Xiaoyao could only display the standard of a 5th-grade alchemist. It was simply embarrassing. Ha, I succeeded. I, Mu Xiangtian, have become a 6th-grade alchemist. Looking at the entire continent, who has a higher aptitude than me? Ha. Mu Xiangtian could not help but laugh crazily in the arena. He was extremely arrogant. Suddenly, his vision turned black and his legs went soft. When he was at his proudest, he sat on the ground and lost his composure. Brother Xiangtian, what happened to you? Huang Tianba hurriedly helped him up. Although he was envious, jealous, and resentful, this time, Mu Xiangtian had won a furnace for him. I'm just too happy. I'm fine. Mu Xiangtian waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. However, the real situation was that because he relied on external items to refine a 6th-grade elixir, he had overused his vitality. At this time, he was at the peak of his weakness and was almost like a cripple. In fact, his so-called miracle was only this one time. In essence, he was still a 4th-grade trash alchemist. Although it was only one time, it was completely enough. Qinghao, what else do you have to say? From now on, Xing, it will have nothing to do with you. Mu Xiangtian roared arrogantly. Brat, hand over your furnace obediently. Immediately give me. Yi Zimming, 50,000 earth crystals. Crawl onto my pants. Hurry up. Several people shouted at the same time, as if Qin had already lost. Are you a group of idiots? My elixir hasn't been tested yet, and you can't wait to show off? Qinhao smiled coldly. Test my ass. If you test it again, can it be better than a 6th-grade elixir? That's right. Especially a 6th-grade elixir? Don't try to be brave anymore. If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave here alive today. Huang Tianba and the others stared fiercely at Qinhao. If he did not hand over the furnace and kneel down, they would join forces to kill Qinhao. These juniors are really too agitated. However, young people should be hot-blooded. Mu Chunfeng looked at the tense situation and did not intend to stop them. He even laughed leisurely. Even if Qinhao really refined a 9th transformation elixir, it would be impossible to turn the tables. This was because the effect of Mu Xiangtian's supreme elixir was unprecedentedly strong in the alchemy world. At least in Mu Chunfeng's opinion, the effect of this supreme elixir would be unsurpassable. It's too early for you to be happy. The person who has the last laugh will not be me. Qinhao cannot be bothered with these self-deceiving people. He slapped the furnace with his right palm. Swoosh! Chapter 658. In the world of alchemy, black pills were inferior to ordinary low-grade white pills. Black pills were publicly acknowledged as failures. Qinhao really didn't know how to refine pills. He had refined a failure. This is too funny. This is unprecedented. Qinhao is the joke of the entire alchemy world. Although I, Bai Lang, am not as good as the other genius seniors, I can refine a low-grade 4th-grade pill with my mortal saint strength. You, Qinhao, have the strength of a heavenly saint, but you can't even refine a 1st-grade pill. Bai Lang, I'm going to burst out laughing today. Bai Lang was laughing so hard in the northern competition area that his spit was flying. His gaze was fixed on the genius stage. Just now, he had tested that the pill he had refined was a 4th-grade pill. Qinhao couldn't even compare to him. Why did he have to boast that he could compare with Huang Tianba and Mu Xiangtian? Shame, scandal. Today was definitely the biggest scandal in Qiangbin in 100 years. As the main character of the scandal, Qinhao shouldn't have the face to stay in the inner court, right? Qinhao, are you joking? You made a failure pill. I thought you had some skill, but now... let me, Huang Tianba, laugh for a while more. Huang Tianba held his stomach and laughed until his muscles cramped. He couldn't stop at all. What do you have to say now? If I were you, I would have stuffed my head into my pants in shame. Mu Xiangtian stared coldly at Qinhao. His emotions were surging to the extreme. He had really won Xing, but at this moment, he purposely put on an act and acted very calm. Of course I'll say it. Just focus on the test. Qinhao looked at the Danga member holding the pill plate, indicating for him to come over and test. But that Danga member shook his head repeatedly. Forgive me for being blunt, but you're a trash alchemist. You're an insult to my eyes. I have no interest in testing for you. Qinhao, you still won't admit defeat? Now even a lackey is looking down on you. Hurry up and hand over the 50,000 earth crystals. Yi Ziming roared and extended his palm towards Qin Hao, demanding the money. Noisy, Qin Hao let out a thunderous roar. Two scarlet-red lotus soul flames started to burn his eyes. Then, he released an indomitable, imposing aura. This roar immediately intimidated several people on the stage. Immediately after, Qin Hao opened his hand and sucked the pill plate from Dan Ji's lackey's hand. Without saying a word, he threw his black pill into it. You still want to struggle? I, Mu Xiangtian, have seen shameless people before, but I've never seen someone like you, Qin Hao, who refuses to turn back even after smashing into a wall. Fine, just focus on the test. In any case, you won't be able to change anything. Mu Xiangtian waved his sleeves and raised his head. The audience shook their heads one after another. What was the use of Qin Hao continuing the test? He was just asking for humiliation. This kid is stubborn. He's destined to lose completely. However, losing to my son is not a waste of his life. Mu Chunfeng smiled and stroked his beard. At first, he was also shocked. After all, Qin Hao's fire control technique was very impressive. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a fire control genius. However, he did not expect that in the end, he would refine a defective pill. Even if it was a defective 9-transformation pill, it still could not change the fact that it was a failed product. That's right. Losing to Brother Mu's godson is his good fortune. Elder Fong took the opportunity to curry favor with Qin Hao. He looked at him with disdain. However, suddenly, oh my God, everyone look, there are 3 balls of black smoke coming out of the pill plate. No, it's not the 3rd ball. It's the 4th ball. There's another ball. It's the 5th ball. 5 balls of black smoke symbolize a grade 5 pill. Countless screams came from the audience. At the same time, everyone stood up. Their necks were stretched longer than giraffes. Their eyes were fixed on the pill plate in Qin Hao's hand. That was because the number of black smoke did not stop. It condensed into a 6-ball at an extremely fast speed. 6 balls of black smoke meant that Qin Hao's pill was a grade 6 pill. A useless grade 6 pill was really strange. It was the first time everyone had seen it. Haha, I've underestimated you. You actually refined a useless grade 6 pill. Although it's a grade 6 pill, it's still trash. According to the agreement, I can buy this pill. Mu Xiangtian was slightly surprised. Fortunately, he was still the winner in the end. Even if Qin Hao's pill was also a grade 6 pill, the quality could not be compared to Mu Xiangtian's supreme grade pill. Qin Hao could not escape the loser's fate. When Xing saw this, her face turned pale. With a helpless laugh, she took the initiative to walk to the stage. She came to Mu Xiangtian and said coldly, "You won. According to the bet, I could be your slave. But I won't allow my young master to be insulted by others. If you don't agree, I'll die in front of you immediately." While speaking, Xing palm flashed, and she took out a 2-foot-long spike. She put the spike against her neck and pierced her skin. Suddenly, red blood flowed down her white neck and gathered into a line of blood, dyeing her collar red. "Stop, I agree. Put down the weapon," Mu Xiangtian said anxiously. He had just won the competition and had not enjoyed Xing yet. How could he let her die? That would be a loss. "I agree. Whoever makes things difficult for Qin Hao will be my enemy. Of course, I can't make the decision for the furnace he lost. As for his 50,000 earth crystals, I can help him pay. What do you think, Xing?" Mu Xiangtian promised without hesitation and glared at Ren Xiaoyao fiercely, meaning that he could not let Qin Hao get into his pants. Mu Xiangtian, Ren Xiaoyao was so angry that his face trembled. In Dan Ji's territory, he could only compromise, even if he was extremely unhappy in his heart. "Young master, I'm sorry. I won't be able to serve you in the future. But don't worry, from the moment you saved me, I swore that I'd be your woman in life and your ghost in death. Since you've lost, I'll pay off your debt for you. But I won't let Mu Xiangtian succeed." After hurriedly saying these regretful words, Xing made up her mind and stabbed the sharp spike in her palm. She could not be Mu Xiangtian's slave. That would be a stain on Qin Hao's life. "You shameless be ****. Mu Xiangtian could not stop her. At this moment, He was so angry that he almost went crazy. Since you are my woman in life and my ghost in death, your life and death are up to me. Qin Hao, if I don't let you die, you can't die. With a gentle wave of his palm, Qin Hao's unparalleled Yuan Qi, which contained the power of the dragon's soul, shackled Xing Er's palm like a rope, preventing her from committing suicide. The Yuan Qi, which was as strong as that of a Yuan king, made Xing unable to move. At this moment, while Qin Hao was moved, he spoke again. What's more, who said I lost? While speaking, Qin Hao flicked his right finger and shook the black pill on the pill plate. Crack! With a shattering sound, the black pill cracked open, revealing an incomparably noble purple pill inside. A strong purple light soared into the sky. At the same time, another cloud condensed on the pill plate. In addition to the previous 6, there were 7 clouds in total. The difference was that these 7 clouds were no longer black. At this moment, all of them had turned into a sacred purple. Chapter 659. The purple light soared into the sky and shone brilliantly. The sacred elixir fragrance spread across the Danji Square like an invisible energy covering the entire imperial city. People couldn't help but kowtow and worship it. The great abnormality of heaven and earth immediately alarmed Yi Longyuan in the imperial palace. After Yi Longyuan smelled the pure elixir fragrance between heaven and earth, he was absent-minded for a long time. Then, he realized that it was Dan Ji's location. He couldn't help but smile meaningfully. Then, he turned his eyes back to his son. Yi Shuihan was receiving his special training, which was prepared for the upcoming competition in the Medicine Valley. Similarly, Yao Lao, who was in Qiangbin, also sensed the elixir fragrance. His face changed greatly. It's Dango, but who on earth has such ability? After saying that, Yao Lao disappeared from Qiangbin. The next moment, he had teleported to Dange. At this time, the entire Danji Square was silent. It was so quiet that it made people's hair stand on end. The 7 clouds on the genius platform symbolized that the elixir in the elixir plate was a 7th grade king elixir. The sacred purple light symbolized that there was only one peerless elixir on the continent. After all, even the internal affairs elder with the highest cultivation in Dangu couldn't refine a peerless king elixir. Even the deputy pavilion master and the pavilion master might not have such ability. After all, only Dindi, who had fallen on the continent, could refine a peerless elixir. However, the peerless king elixir in front of them was refined by an 18-year-old boy. How could they not be shocked? Impossible. This is impossible. It must be fake, right? Qin Hao refined a peerless king elixir. I won't believe it, even if you beat me to death. There's no justice. On the stage, Huang Tianba, Rin Xiaoyao, Yi Ziming, and Mu Xiangtian widened their eyes in shock. They couldn't accept the fact. In fact, including Mu Chunfeng, the 4 elders of Dangu also stood up in the judges' seats. Their chins almost fell to their feet, and their necks stretched out longer than a rooster's crow. Silly girl, why are you so impulsive? With a smile, Qin Hao flicked his finger and dispersed the energy-restraining Shin. Woo-woo, young master. Xing could not help but tear up. She threw herself into Qin Hao's arms and hugged him tightly. She had thought that today she would. However, he did not expect the situation to be reversed so drastically. Qin Hao had refined a peerless 7th-tier pill, suppressing everyone. In fact, Danji's elders weren't even qualified to carry Qin Hao's boots. Haha, I'm sorry, Huang Tianba. I'll kindly accept your family's heirloom, the Black Wind Furnace of Good Fortune. Yi Ziming, I want you to return the 200,000 earth crystals you owe me immediately. Not a single one less. Mu Xiangtian, from now on, your life is in my hands. And you, Qin Hao pointed at Rin Xiaoyao. Destroy your Dantian. Don't force me to do it. Boom. These words were like rolling thunder, exploding in their minds. Huang Tianba and the others' faces were extremely distorted. They had lost their family heirloom, 200,000 earth crystals, Mu Xiangtian had lost his life, and Ren Xiaoyao was going to become a cripple. No, impossible. I will never give my family heirloom to you. Yi Ziming, will not give you 200,000 earth crystals either. Don't even think about it. No way. As for me, Mu Xiangtian, haha, my life is in my own hands, not in the hands of the heavens. And me, Ren Xiaoyao, you want me to destroy my own martial arts? Dream on. Moreover, we suspect that Qin Hao cheated. The pills were definitely not refined by him, because there were no king-level herbs among the herbs provided in the competition. The rarest ones were actually only a few stalks of sacred herbs. Mu Xiangtian and the others turned hostile at the same time. They seemed to be in cahoots, accusing Qin Hao of cheating. Perhaps the pills had been refined by someone else, and then he had secretly thrown them into the furnace. Contestant Qin Hao, I also need you to give a reasonable explanation. Just now, your technique was clearly used to refine a 9 transformation pill. How did you produce a grade 7 king pill? More importantly, where did you get the herbs? If you can't give me a reasonable explanation, don't even think about leaving safely today. How could Mu Chunfeng watch his son lose the competition with his own eyes? Moreover, it was even more impossible for him to compensate Qin Hao with the earth crystals. Therefore, even if Qin Hao really won, he could only be judged as a loser in front of the 4 elders. At this moment, Mu Chunfeng had already secretly signaled to the 4 elders with his eyes. That's right. Registrar Mu's adopted son, Mu Xiangtian, is the most outstanding junior alchemist in Dange. He has been trained by our Registrar Mu since he was young. He has worked hard on refining pills for more than 20 years. There is no way he would lose to a young boy like you. You must have cheated. Someone come on, take him down and execute him on the spot. As Mu Chunfeng's lackey, Elder Square directly gave the order to kill Qin Hao. It was simply unreasonable. I think we should let the Elder of Internal Affairs come over and deal with this matter. I also think we should let the Elder of Internal Affairs come over and deal with it. Although the other 3 elders also suspected Qin Hao, they did not want to kill him. However, due to Mu Chunfeng's prestige, they did not dare to stand up and say a word of justice. In this regard, Qin Hao kept shaking his head and looked disappointed. Is this Dange, who is known to be respected in the land of Western Yang? The way you do things is not complimentary. Cut the crap. Anyway, you have lost. Come and crawl into my crotch immediately. Otherwise, I will teach you a lesson. When Ren Xiaoyao saw that Mu Chunfeng was backing him up, he immediately became confident and pointed at Qin Hao's nose with great arrogance. Qin Hao's eyes darkened. He did not have a good impression of this person. Now that he dared to be presumptuous, he condensed a ball of primordial fire in his palm and directly slapped at him. Ha. Qin Hao, you asked for it. You can't blame others. Since you want to die, let me, the 3rd on the heaven list of the 10 Directions Academy, deal with you, the fake number 1 in Red Sun. Shocking divine fist. Ren Xiaoyao shouted. Then he condensed primordial qi in his right fist and performed an earth-grade unique skill. He did not hesitate to attack. Bang! However, this seemingly earth-shattering punch was firmly caught by Qin Hao's powerful palm. I said I would destroy you, so I will destroy you. After that, he twisted his palm. The red lotus soul fire reached his palm and spread along his opponent's arm. Crack. Ren Xiaoyao, who was at the 6th level of Heavenly Saint, had his arm twisted like a fried dough twist by Qin Hao. The red lotus soul fire immediately swallowed him. A ball of fire ignited on the arena, accompanied by Ren Xiaoyao's heart-wrenching scream, which made people's hair stand on end. Huang Tianba and the others did not even have time to react. The red lotus soul fire was extinguished under Qin Hao's control, and then Ren Xiaoyao was exposed. His arm was still twisted by Qin Hao, but Ren Xiaoyao was beyond recognition. His skin was burned and festered, and he was dripping with blood. More importantly, his primordial qi had disappeared without a trace. Then, Qin Hao let go of him. Trash! Bang! Ren Xiaoyao fell to the ground. Although he was still breathing, his internal organs were eroded by the red lotus soul fire. His meridians were burned, and his dantian was destroyed. The third on the heaven list of the 10 directions, Inner Academy, could not withstand one move from Qin Hao. What kind of terrifying strength was this? Chapter 660. Let's see who dies first. After saying that, Qin Hao no longer showed mercy. The red lotus fire gathered at his fingertips, and a golden finger shot out. It pierced Ren Xiaoyao's heart like a scarlet light beam. The whole process was so clean that no one could react in time. By the time they reacted, Ren Xiaoyao, who ranked third on the heaven list of the inner yard of 10 directions, had already died on Dan Ji's platform. Boom! Qin Hao's action shocked everyone present. Killing someone in front of Dan Ji's gate was like killing a royal guard at the gate of the palace. How could Dan Ge show his face? This was the first time in 100 years. Before this, no one dared to provoke Dan Ge like Qin Hao did. "Thief, how dare you?" Mu Chunfeng shouted. Then he sneered. Originally, he was worried that killing Qin Hao would bring him some trouble. Now that Qin Hao took the initiative to provoke him, Mu Chunfeng had an excuse. "Aha! How dare you kill an alchemist in front of Dan Ji's gate, and a genius from the inner yard of 10 directions? Qin Hao, you really don't know what's good for you. You offended two big forces at once." Elder Square smiled coldly and looked at Qin Hao as if he was looking at a corpse. Qin Hao didn't bother to pay attention to this. In fact, he didn't take them seriously at all. Refining the Peerless King-level elixir had a serious impact on him, and almost half of his primordial qi was consumed. However, with the support of the Dragon's Soul and the Fire's Soul, Qin Hao, who had a divine artifact, was invincible in the square. Unless the higher-ups of Dan Ge came out to suppress him, no one would be his opponent. Therefore, after killing Ren Xiaoyao, Qin Hao immediately looked at Mu Xiangtian and said, "Next, it's your turn. No, don't kill me. Godfather, stop him. I'm your son." Mu Xiangtian's entire body was drenched in cold sweat. Qin Hao was clearly in a killing frenzy and did not care whose territory this was. Ren Xiaoyao, a 6th-level heavenly saint, could not block a single blow from Qin Hao. Mu Xiangtian, a mere mortal saint, was even worse than feces. How could he be a match for Qin Hao? "Landong, kill him for me." Mu Chunfeng also spoke, pointing at Qin Hao. "I wanted to take care of him for a long time. In fact, killing him is as easy as killing a chicken." Sky-destroying God slash. Landong was Mu Xiangtian's pill slave. It was his duty to protect his master. Actually, he was in the same realm as Ren Xiaoyao, a 6th-level heavenly saint. The difference was that Landong used to be a wandering swordsman and had rich combat experience. He had been able to deal with the encirclement several times. Even two Ren Xiaoyao couldn't beat Landong in terms of the ability to kill people. Furthermore, Qin Hao had expended his essence qi to refine pills, so he was currently at his weakest. Even so, Landong did not dare to be careless. He immediately used the strongest move of his life. All of a sudden, Landong pulled out a thick and heavy lion-headed saber from his crotch. He jumped high into the air and slashed at Qin Hao's head. A 10-zhang-long saber light was shot out, and its momentum was extremely shocking. "Young master, be careful." When Xing'er saw this, she tightened her grip on the spike in her hand, wanting to block the other party. Qin Hao's aura was indeed weaker than before. The one who should be careful is you. As a girl, don't get involved in men's fights. Be good and just watch from the back. Qin Hao smiled faintly. An insignificant 6th-level heavenly saint pill slave was not worthy of his attention. Graceful sword strike. Qin Hao moved like the wind. His interspatial ring flashed, and the purple meteorite sword appeared in his hand. Then he swung his sword. Whoosh! The graceful sword strike carried the red lotus flame. Not only was it fast, but its might was also several times stronger than before Qin Hao obtained his essence spirit. This sword strike broke through the saber qi in the air and pierced Landong's throat. Bang! After Landong was pierced through by the sword, he fell to the ground with the lion-headed saber in his hand. Crack! The saber in his hand broke into 2 halves. Dark red blood couldn't be stopped and gushed out from his throat. What a fast sword! After saying his last words, Lan Dong died with his saber and fell off the high platform. Before he died, he strangely had a mocking smile on his face. It seemed as though he was mocking himself. After all, Qin Hao had killed Lan Dong as easily as killing a chicken. Lan Dong was the joke. Oh my god, how can he be so strong? Damn it. I have only felt the pressure of Qin Hao's sword chi from the top person in Mad Dragon before. However, the top person in Mad Dragon was a 1-star Yuan Monarch. Huang Tianba was sweating profusely. At this moment, he finally felt Qin Hao's disdainful demeanor. His legs were trembling. Similarly, I have only felt the power of that sword from the top person in Starry Moon College. The top person on the sky list of Starry Moon College is also a 1-star Yuan Monarch. However, Qin Hao is only in the 5th level of the Sky Saint realm. How can he be so strong? Yi Ziming was also frightened. At this moment, he no longer doubted that Qin Hao had killed Duan Shuilu. After all, Qin Hao had killed 2 6-star heavenly saints effortlessly in 2 moves. As for Mu Xiangtian, he was so frightened that he lost control of his bladder. A yellow liquid flowed down his pants and onto the stage. There was an indescribable fear in his eyes. How can this be? Mu Chunfeng felt a chill in his heart. It was as though he had lost his soul and became hollow. Qin Hao's strength was beyond imagination. Based on his performance, no one here was a match for him. No one could stop him. However, Qin Hao could do whatever he wanted. You guys can't compete in alchemy, but you guys are good at slandering people. Chapter 661. Get out! Qin Hao's body glowed with golden light as he released the dragon soul. In an instant, a gigantic dragon phantom spiraled out of his body and a layer of dense dragon scales covered Qin Hao's body. With the defensive power of the dragon scales, Qin Hao easily blocked Huang Tianba's blade soul and Yi Ziming's mysterious yellow fire. Huang Tianba's attack produced a metallic sound as it hit Qin Hao's body. However, it did not even break a single scale. Although the mysterious yellow fire was strong, it was swallowed by Qin Hao's red lotus soul fire when it got close to him. Then, it was turned into his own primordial chi. The second-ranked Wild Dragon Academy and Starry Moon Academy's combined efforts were useless. Shortly after, the dragon soul that was circling around Qin Hao's body let out a wild roar and swept out its huge tail. With a bang, it hit the 2 of them. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, the 2 of them were ruthlessly sent flying. They fell from the high platform to 100 meters away, shattering the stone slabs on the ground. The momentum was shocking to the extreme. Dig, poof. After Huang Tianba and Yi Ziming landed on the ground, they could not help but vomit blood. Their eyes were filled with intense fear. However, Qin Hao's sword did not stop moving towards Mu Xiangtian's head. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Mu Xiangtian was so terrified that his liver and guts were about to split. Qin Hao was simply a monster. At this moment, he deeply felt fear. If he had another chance, Mu Xiangtian would definitely not provoke Qin Hao. Unfortunately, the heavens would not give him a second chance. Thief, how dare you? Suddenly, a wild roar came from Dan Ji's hall, following which, a figure with an astonishing aura flew out. When Qin Hao's purple meteorite sword was only 0.01 inches away from Mu Xiangtian's throat, the figure sent out a palm strike. The figure that flew over sent out a ferocious palm strike. The Yuan Qi in this palm strike was red in color. Red vitality symbolized a king-level expert. Evidently, this palm strike was not held back at all. It was as if he wanted to kill Qin Hao. 6-star Yuan Monarch. With no time to think, Qin Hao immediately opened the Golden Bell protection. It was impossible to block the attack of a level 6 Yuan Monarch just by relying on the physical defense of the Dragon Soul. Not only that, but Qin Hao was also very likely to be killed. Wong. The Great Void Cauldron in Qin Hao's left hand released a wave of energy. Instantly, A cauldron's illusory golden bell cover enveloped Qin Hao's entire body before his opponent's palm strike could reach him. Rumble. There was a deafening explosion. The palm landed heavily on Qin Hao's body. As expected, the golden bell shield shattered immediately. Even though he had the cultivation of a level 5 heavenly sage, Qin Hao was still too weak against a level 6 Yuan Monarch. Of course, the destruction of the golden bell shield did not mean that the other party could kill Qin Hao. Under the protection of the dragon scales, Qin Hao was knocked out of the stage. His feet landed on the ground, and the stone floor under his feet cracked. Although there was a trace of blood on the corner of his mouth, Qin Hao was not fatally wounded. A surprised voice was heard. At this moment, an elder in a golden robe appeared on the stage. Judging from his clothes, he was Danji's internal affairs elder, an existence on the same level as Zheng Kaiwa. Moreover, the elder in the golden robe had already protected Mu Xiangtian behind him. However, he was very surprised that he did not manage to kill Qin Hao in one move. "Young master, how are your injuries?" Xing hurriedly flew down the stage and landed beside Qin Hao. She immediately asked anxiously, "I'm fine." Qin Hao wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand and stared coldly at the elder in the golden robe on the stage. He had no intention of backing down. "Elder Sima, oh my God. Thank you, Elder Sima, for saving my life." Boo-hoo. Mu Xiangtian had narrowly escaped death. It was as if he had stretched his leg into the palace of the King of Hell and had luckily crawled back. At this moment, he was so emotional that he could not stop crying and hugging Sima Poxy's leg tightly. He would only feel safe if he hugged Sima Poxy's leg. "Greetings, Elder Sima. Greetings, Elder Sima. Greetings, Elder Sima." In an instant, whether it was Mu Chunfeng and the others who were hosting the competition or the audience outside, they all bowed to Sima Poxy. Their attitude was extremely respectful. As Danji's internal affairs elder, every internal affairs elder was a king-level elite. Moreover, they were the most precious king-level alchemists in Western Liang. In the alchemy world, other than the honorable level alchemists, the king level was the strongest. Honorable level alchemists were almost legendary figures. It seemed that they were mysterious existences that ordinary people would not be able to meet in their lifetime. However, king-level alchemists were different. Although king-level alchemists were also very honorable, if their ancestors burned incense, they would have the opportunity to meet them. Of course, under normal circumstances, it was harder for outsiders to meet a king-level alchemist than to reach the heavens. Therefore, when Sima Poxy appeared at this moment, one could imagine the excitement in everyone's heart. "What's going on?" Sima Poxy ignored the crowd's worship. In his opinion, whether it was the audience or Mu Chunfeng, they were all like ants. However, Mu Xiangtian and Mu Chunfeng were still ants raised by Dan Ge. No matter what, he still had to be merciful and save the world. "Elder Sima, this is what happened." Mu Chunfeng heard the dissatisfaction in Sima Poxy's voice and did not dare to hide anything. He simply told him about how Qin Hao had refined a level 7 king-level alchemist pill and how he had caused a ruckus in the competition. Based on this young man's technique, it's obvious that he had refined a 9 transformation pill. I don't know what kind of trick he used to create a king-level alchemist pill. Forgive me for being blunt, but even Elder Sima and all of us internal affairs elders could not have refined a peerless king-level alchemist pill. He must have cheated and should be punished. Mu Chunfeng bowed and said, "Yes, and he openly killed people. Rin Xiaoyao was an alchemist registered by Dan Ge. My alchemist slave, Lan Dong, was killed mercilessly and cruelly by Qin Hao. He clearly does not put Dan Ge in his eyes. I beg Elder Sima to uphold justice for me and return justice to the world. Let the world shine brightly and kill this evil dark alchemist, Qin Hao." Mu Xiangtian was afraid that Qin Hao's crime was too light, so he quickly accused him of being an evil alchemist. He believed that Sima Poxy would definitely agree to his request. In fact, Sima Poxy was Mu Chunfeng's immediate superior. Mu Xiangtian belonged to Sima Poxy's faction. If that's the case, then kill him. Sima Poxy gave Mu Xiangtian a satisfactory answer. He did not even think about it. He did not ask Qin Hao anything and directly announced the death penalty. I thought Dango was the clear stream of the alchemy world, the noble temple of Western Liang. I never thought that the inside was full of sanctimonious people. Today Qin Hao, have opened my eyes. Qin Hao did not even have a chance to explain. He was completely disappointed in Dango. It's too late for you to regret now. This is the result of being my enemy. Elder Sima, what are you waiting for? Why don't you quickly kill this thief? Mu Xiangtian instantly regained his arrogant face. He raised his nose and said in a commanding tone, as if Sima Poxy was his dog, "Get lost." With a loud shout, Sima Poxy raised his foot and kicked Mu Xiangtian's face. His heart was naturally filled with anger. Mu Xiangtian was so proud of himself that he was simply a stupid pig. But in the next second, Sima Poxy still attacked Qin Hao. He slowly raised his hand, and Red King level Yuan Qi condensed in his palm. Qin Hao no longer had the protection of the Golden Bell divine skill. Oh, why is today's scene so explosive? Even you, Sima Poxy, are attacking like a happy dog? A leisurely voice sounded. Before Sima Poxy could attack, a group of people with extraordinary auras slowly walked out of Danji's hall. The leader was an old man wearing a golden robe and holding a dragon-headed walking stick in his hand. At the same time, the crackling sound of lightning flashed across the minds of all Danji's members. What did they just hear? Qin Hao called Elder Zhen, one of the three heads of internal affairs, calling the Spirit Array Guild's guild master's beloved daughter, Shuang. At this moment, everyone's worldview was completely overturned. They felt as if the world was about to collapse. Although Face Like Cream stayed at Dango as a guest, in fact, all Danji's members treated her like a god. Not to mention getting close to her, even looking at her from afar was blasphemy. Of course, a low-level external affairs elder like Mu Chunfeng was not even qualified to look at Face Like Cream, let alone his son Mu Xiangtian. In front of an absolute head, Mu Xiangtian was like a maggot in the mud. He and Face Like Cream were in two completely different worlds. However, even the external affairs elder did not dare to look directly at Face Like Cream. Qin Hao, a mere outsider, called the daughter of the Spirit Array Guild Shuang in such a flirtatious manner. He even called the incomparably powerful Elder Zhen Ahua. He simply did not want to live anymore. At this moment, Mu Chunfeng was suddenly overjoyed. Since Qin Hao did not know what was good for him and took the initiative to provoke Zhen Kaiwa would definitely not save him. He might even kill him. Qin Hao, how dare you? Don't you know who you are? How dare you call the great Elder Zhen Ahua? How dare you blaspheme Goddess Yen? What a joke. Now, kneel down before me. Men, cripple him. Mu Xiangtian felt that his chance had come. He was practically spitting saliva as he pointed at Qin Hao and roared. Slap! Suddenly, a slap with the smell of urine came ruthlessly, bringing with it a fishy smell. The slap mercilessly landed on Mu Xiangtian's mouth. Mu Xiangtian did not even have time to react before the stench of urine entered his mouth. He almost suffocated into emphysema. Thus, under this slap, his feet left the ground, and he was sent flying 10 meters into the air before landing heavily on the ground. The one who had made the move was Niao Tong, whose eyes were red. Niao Tong, why did you hurt my son? How can you be so unreasonable? Mu Chunfeng looked at the scene in shock. Not only did I hit your son, but I also took care of you. Niao Tong was like a raging bear. He bent his legs and leaped high into the air like a flying toad, landing on Mu Chunfeng's head. When Niao Tong was in Shiping City, he had the cultivation of a level 9 heavenly saint. Now that he was in the air, his body was glowing with the red vitality of a king-level cultivator. His merciless feet trampled on Mu Chunfeng's face. Mu Chunfeng did not even have the chance to dodge. His head was stomped into the stone floor. Niao Tong, you are too presumptuous. Are you looking down on me, Sima Passia? You better give me a reasonable explanation today. If not, Niao Tong had beaten Mu Chunfeng and his son into a dead dog. Sima Passia was furious. Vitality surged in his body. After all, Mu Chunfeng and his son were his subordinates. Niao Tong was Zhen Caihua's man. This was a battle between two factions. Explanation? I'll give you an explanation now. Zhen Caihua pointed at Qin Hao. He's my ancestor. How dare you threaten to cripple my ancestor in front of me? Don't you think you deserve to be beaten? Not only do I want to beat you, but I also want to kill you. Zhen Caihua glared and roared. He was so angry that his beard was flying. Although he did not know what had happened, since Qin Hao had appeared in front of Dan Ji's door, he must have come to look for him. He must have come to discuss the agreement and teach him his experience in array formations. However, the noble in Zhen Caihua's eyes, who he regarded as his ancestor, was humiliated by a group of Dan Ji's subordinates. It was a slap to Zhen Caihua's face. Wasn't it obvious that Sima Passia wanted to intimidate Zhen Caihua? He had to fight back. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd was shocked again. It was too unexpected and too bizarre. There were so many twists and turns today. The audience originally thought that after Sima Passia appeared, Qin Hao would be dead for sure. Especially after Zhen Caihua appeared. Qin Hao dared to call him Ahua. That was an act of courting death. Who would have thought that not only was Zhen Caihua not angry, but he also directly ordered Niao Tong to beat up Mu Chunfeng and his son. Needless to say, Qin Hao's backer was Zhen Caihua. This is too exciting. Before the first wave is over, another wave is coming. That's right. Elder Zhen and Elder Sima have always been at odds. Now that Qin Hao is being slandered by Sima Passia and Zhen Caihua's men beat up Mu Chunfeng and his son, it's getting more and more intense. Keep your voice down. This is a battle between two internal affairs elders. We're not qualified to talk. Be careful not to lose your lives. If you do that, won't you, Qin Hao, be heartbroken? With Zhen Caihua and face like cream making the decision, Mu Chunfeng had to admit defeat even if he did not want to. Then, with a pleading look on his face, he even squeezed out a few drops of tears from his eyes. He faced the crowd and shouted, "Fellow alchemists, for Dangu, I, Mu Chunfeng, have worked hard without complaint. I have saved a lot of money and saved a lot of Luo Shui victims. You can't let Qin Hao kill my son because of a loss in a competition. That's right. You can be punished if you lose. You can't take someone's life because of a disagreement, right? Moreover, Registrar Mu is an upright person. He has made great contributions to Dangu. Why don't you make up for it with your contributions?" Sima Passia said indifferently. Judging from his tone, this matter was over. Upright person? Saving a lot of victims? What an upright person. I'm laughing my head off. Ha ha. Qin Hao suddenly let out a maniacal laugh. Then, he took out a piece of paper and threw it to Zhen Caihua. The main purpose of coming here today was to punish Mu Chunfeng through Zhen Caihua. It was better to expose this old dog's true colors in front of tens of thousands of people and be despised by them. This was the only way to vent the hatred of Dan Xian in the ice coffin. Zhen Caihua took the paper and read it. He was so angry that his face trembled. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. As for Qin Hao, he directly recited it in front of everyone. In the autumn of the year 1457 of the Luo Shui calendar, a plague broke out in the 6 southern kingdoms. The Luo Shui's finances were in dire straits, and they were temporarily unable to provide aid. The Pill Pavilion dispatched 14,000 registered alchemists to provide aid to the victims of the plague and eliminate it. But after digging out the hearts of 100 babies, however, Miss Lu was still unable to reverse the situation and died. However, that dark alchemist Lin disappeared without a trace. At the same time, it just so happened that you, Mu Chunfeng, stepped into the profound saint realm from the mortal saint realm, and your cultivation base advanced by leaps and bounds. I wonder if you would have nightmares every night after eating the hearts of more than 100 babies? Have you ever thought that those children who have just been born and haven't had the chance to see the world will he take your life? Qin Hao thought about it and felt that it was extremely cruel. The veins on his fists bulged, and he couldn't help but want to kill Mu Chunfeng directly. Qin Hao, I will kill you. Hearing this, Mu Chunfeng had already broken down to the extreme. He knew that he would definitely not be able to escape this calamity. Once this matter was exposed, it would be easy for the higher-ups of Dangu to find out the truth. Qin Hao knew so much about it, so he definitely had something on Mu Chunfeng. At this moment, only by killing Qin Hao would Mu Chunfeng have a chance to explain himself. In his rage, he didn't know where he got the strength from, but he slammed his head against nibbling copper. His cultivation base of the 7th stage of the profound saint realm rose to the extreme as he rushed madly toward Qin Hao. You still dare to be violent? Kneel! Zheng Kaiwa stamped the dragon-head walking stick on the ground, and with a bang, the stone floor cracked. A powerful force quickly attacked Mu Chunfeng from the bottom of the walking stick. Mu Chunfeng didn't have the slightest chance to get close to Qin Hao and was ruthlessly hit by Zheng Kaiwa, who was at the king stage. Instantly, a broken arm flew into the air. Mu Chunfeng screamed and fell in front of Qin Hao. Qin Hao, who are you? Who sent you here? Who wants to frame me? Mu Chunfeng let out a hoarse roar, his eyes red like an injured beast. Qin Hao had dug out everything he had done over the past few decades. It was obvious that he had come prepared. However, Mu Chunfeng had too many enemies, and he couldn't think of anyone that Qin Hao was the descendant of. Who am I? I will let you know now. Qin Hao waved his hand, and a 3-legged bronze cauldron with green wind patterns flew out from his spatial ring. It stood in the middle of the arena and landed in front of Mu Chunfeng's nose. Old dog Mu, do you still recognize this? Crack! Looking at the cauldron, Mu Chunfeng felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body trembled violently, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. His voice trembled with fear. Green pattern cauldron. You have a good memory. Since you recognize the green pattern cauldron, you should also remember Xian Chongyang, right? Qin took a few steps forward, looked down at Mu Chunfeng, and said Dan Xian's name. This lackey was actually disobedient. If he had become a scapegoat, Mu Chunfeng might have helped him take care of his family. But Fang Yiqi didn't know how to cooperate. Men, lock Fang Yiqi up in the damn prison. Deputy Pavilion Leader, please deal with him. Zheng Kaiwa was very smart. Based on the conversation between Mu Chunfeng and Fang Yiqi, he immediately knew that Fang Yiqi wasn't a good person. Mu Chunfeng, I'll *CK your father. Your father is a big black egg. Why did he look at me just now? Fang Yiqi regretted his past actions. He shouldn't have colluded with Mu Chunfeng. In the end, he was dragged into the Dan prison by 2 martial artists. Save me, Elder Sima. On account of my loyalty to you, please save my life. Have you forgotten that we once drank and ate together? Mu Chunfeng was frantic. He quickly begged Sima Poxy for help. Sima Poxy was the internal affairs elder. If he was willing to plead with the pavilion leader, Mu Chunfeng might be able to save his life. After all, the case had been going on for so long. Those who deserved to die were already dead. Get lost. I, Sima Poxy, despise associating with scum like you. Who the *CK has eaten with you? Sima Poxy turned his head to the side. His eyes were full of disdain. He couldn't wait to hide from Mu Chunfeng. How could the other party ask him to save his life? At this time, the people of the Coldwater Empire would throw rotten eggs and tomatoes at anyone who had anything to do with Mu Chunfeng. If Sima Poxy put in a good word for Mu Chunfeng, no one would ask him to refine pills in the future. Nephew Tianba, Nephew Ziming, on account of your friendship with my son, I hope that the Huang Yaoshe family and the Yi family can save the old man's life. Mu Chunfeng knew that once the people who went to the winery returned, he would have no way to survive. He would kill whoever he caught. He believed that with the power of the Huang Yaoshe family and the Yi family, it wouldn't be a big problem to save his life. You stinky old dog, who has a friendship with your son. Scum like you shouldn't climb up to the Huang family. The Huang family is a prestigious family. Who do you think you are? Huang Tianba spat at Mu Chunfeng viciously. Now you want to talk about friendship? Dream on. It was still okay when you were an elder. Now that you are no longer an elder, it's useless. Similarly, Yi Ziming also thought the same. Hence, he turned his head to the side. Mu Chunfeng, you have schemed against others your whole life and thought that you were the biggest winner. In the end, what do you have now? Family? Friends? Fellow apprentices? Who is willing to speak for you? Actually, you've already lost completely. Qin Hao sneered. No, I still have my son. For my son, I want to kill you and let him in the competition. Xiang Tian, my son, tell Qin Hao that I still have you. You won't despise me, right? There is no hope for survival. He was the honorary elder of the headquarters of the Spiritual Array Guild, and now he was the honorary elder of Dan Ji's headquarters. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.